Oh, hey, welcome back. I switched to the wrong scene and then the music cuts really hard, I reckon. How's everyone doing? Welcome back to the Metropolitan. My name is Andre. It is Worlds tomorrow. Whoa! I'm actually like really stoked. Really stoked. It's Worlds 2020 on the internet. 2020, that's how it goes. It starts tomorrow. We got 2 days of Worlds, 3 days of Worlds to start. How's everyone doing? Who's playing at Worlds? It is October 8th. Here, this is the right scene, right? Okay, we'll watch that again. Don't worry, it's cool. Oh, oops. Oops. Wah. How's everyone doing? Welcome. Yo, Marc Andre, how you doing? You ready for tomorrow? How's it looking? Also, Parallel, McCarleman, Giles, Hype. Yo, how's it going, everyone? I don't know what I'm shrinking. I need to change my webcam. That's this one. Okay, cool. It is Worlds tomorrow. If you don't know for some reason, I've said that already enough times. It starts tomorrow at about 2 o'clock Eastern Standard Time. It begins day 1A. It's going to be wild. Let me tell you, Nisei did a test stream today and kind of leaked a bit what the Cobra AI looks like for tomorrow. And let me tell you, there's over 100 players tomorrow. And then the day after, there's even a lot more than that. So we got a couple good old days of Netrunner coming up. Just check out, this is like the most important thing, I think, by far, is twitch.tv/project Nisei. Yo, Pat, what up, dude? How you doing, man? Did you figure out a deck list? Go over here, twitch.tv/project Nisei, and subscribe and hit that bell so you get notification when we go live. They are streaming. Look at that. There's a new banner there. World Championship Day 1A starts tomorrow, October 9th at 13:30, 1:30 Eastern. And then you have Day 1B that starts at 6:30 Eastern, but that's in the morning because that's 24-hour time, because that makes sense for Europe and the rest of the world. And Day 2 Sunday starts at 6:30 Eastern. Wait, it starts in that early in the morning? What have I agreed to? Anywho, that's gonna be a lot of fun. I'd like to say very happily, I'm very excited about this, that I will be hosting. I will be commentating all of tomorrow, like literally all of it. I'll be having guests drop in and out. There might be some times I'm on my own. It'll be a good time. And then Sunday or Saturday, excuse me, you're in the very competent hands of Cluster Fox, who will be streaming starting very early there in Europe times. I will be joining a bit later, and then Sunday for the finals and the top cut and all that stuff, I will be anchoring that stream again. So I hope you signed up for hearing a lot of my voice. I'm really stoked. Again, this is not happening on this channel. Go over to twitch.tv/project Nisei. We did have a piece of art here, but for some reason this art has transparency to it, which is weird, but that's the thing that you're seeing in smaller. Thanks for this. But yeah, so it starts tomorrow. The times, there's 2 days. One of them makes more sense for one part of the world, the other for the other, and then day 2 is some sort of compromise for both, I guess. But is that second time right? That second time looks really weird, doesn't it? For Sunday? I don't know. We'll figure it out. How's everyone doing? Pal, what'd you figure out? Yo, Fat, also Kanako guy, how's it going? Welcome. Baza, Merry World's Eve. Yeah. Hell yeah. How many y'all playing on Friday or Saturday? How many people play on Saturday just so they can watch on it's not like you can change your deck list because those are already submitted, but who are trying to figure out what the field looks like? Spray, what up? I'm playing Gundam for 295 out of 300. It's really important to set your own goals, and if you want to set them really low so you can't be disappointed, power to you. I think it's gonna be a good time. It's gonna be a good time. Making a list and running it twice. Yo, what up, Argentina? Friday. Yo, good luck tomorrow, huh? Baza, good luck tomorrow as well. Sol Marathan makes sense for Europe, but I'm all up the midnight grind for the West Coast. Yo, West Coast, they have to start if they want to play on Saturday. They start at like 2 in the morning, and then they go on until like whatever's 10 to 12 hours from now. It's absolutely wild. And I have no doubt some people will be doing it. We can confirm, I can confirm, a bit of a spoiler, that we have over 100 players tomorrow and then well over that the day after. So it's going to be a pretty big tournament. I don't know what the breakoff points are for like certain amounts of how many rounds it is. I think it's like 7 rounds. I don't know. 1A, yo, what up? Project Nisei going to save archive this time around? Yo, Thanos, actually, I goofed that. Project Nisei did archive the other ones. They didn't advertise it, and I didn't even know about that. So if you go to YouTube, if you search YouTube, you'll find youtube.com. And if you go to Project Nisei, they actually have their own channel, which has all the Intercontinentals, Continentals archived on here. I think the Black Lives Matter tournament isn't on here for some reason, but they haven't done a really good job advertising this. I don't think they own the Vanity channel just yet. Like if you go to youtube.com/Nisei, yeah, they should have that soon. But yeah, this will all be archived if you do miss it. It'll be archived on Twitch for at least a month, and then it'll be on YouTube. I'm definitely hoping. It'd be weird if it wouldn't. My goal is to get 2 wins so I can get some of the sweet logic bombs. Yo, speaking of the sweet prizes, did y'all know this? I didn't know this. I missed this entirely. The top half will be getting faction dice. I think that's top half per faction? Or is that top half of everybody will be getting their faction in dice? It's probably that one. It's probably that one. I don't know. More players in 1B? Yo, Sid, yeah, there's a fair more players in 1B, which I think makes a lot of sense. I think Europe has a huge scene, but I think the fact that it was just on a day that you don't have to take time off work makes it a lot more accessible to a lot of people. So we'll see. I was hoping 1A would be more popular. Yeah, I was pretty sure that the second day would be. Also, some people want to take the second day just so they can watch day one and like kind of get some tips. It's not that they can change their deck lists, but sometimes you can just see people and be like, oh, okay, well, I know that this sort of list play around this. Also, if you don't know, for all this nice art support, all of this stuff is actually on Jinteki.net. So you'll be seeing these cards over the next couple of days. They actually do already exist, including these two as well. I don't know whether they have to opt into it or not. I played Biovault today and I saw this one, so who knows. Worlds last year was like 120 or something. Yo, Brick. Yeah, I actually don't know how big it was. Worlds 2019 always be running. But the idea that this is like an online event, obviously, huge difference to how many people can show up as opposed to like, you know, going somewhere. Worlds 2019, how many players we're at? No, it was a bit more than 120. It was 256. I think this year we're going to have more players. I'm pretty sure this year we're going to have more players than last year's Worlds. That's pretty good. Pat says, yo, Krabs, what up? Pat says my deck's a mess. Don't want to give anything away, of course. I actually spectated one of your games today. I don't know if you're playing that ID, but I was surprised. Sam, what up? Sorry I'm late. First time catching the stream from my new place. Yo, how's the new place? Antoine also, how's it going? Man, are you playing? Getting Friday off is a hassle for a lot of Americans, unfortunately. I believe it. It kind of works well in some ways. Like in Canada, it is a long weekend. I took today off. I took tomorrow off, obviously. And then Monday is a holiday in Canada because of Canadian Thanksgiving, which is a really difficult thing, if not impossible to do modernly with family. So we're going to stick out here for sure. 256 power of 2, coincidence? It's an all set up. Also, my first time watching from my new place. Seems it's going around. Yo, Fat, how's it going? I've heard a couple people finding new places recently. I hope all that's going well. I don't know what property values look like modernly with everything going on. Maybe it's a bit easier. Who knows? Grim, Worlds last year was one of the biggest World events. I think Magnum Opus was the only one that was larger. Ooh, that's actually really cool if that's the case. I think the fact that this is in Europe, it makes it a lot more accessible for more people, just because there's, I don't know, more metas. And I think it might be easier to travel. I think like cross-country travel in Europe is a lot easier than like finding how to get to Minnesota in the States, just because trains and stuff it's a bit bigger. And you have like budget airplanes. Like we don't have that sort of like Ryanair type thing in North America, which is a bummer. I'm also in the process of buying my house. Yo, McCarley, man, congrats. Huh, I'm just going to destroy a bot. I'm just going to go ban that bot. Okay, here we go. Tobal, I hope everything's going with you. It is going pretty well. I'm really excited. Again, I probably need to like watch my voice today because we are going to be commentating through all of tomorrow. A bit on Saturday. You'll be with Cluster Fox on Saturday, and then Sunday we'll be commentating all of it. So gotta keep it down a bit. Can't get too hyped because we're gonna need that voice. I'm excited. I'm really excited. All right. Okay. So what do we do today is the big question. What I was thinking, and now the problem with like right now Netrunner DB is not a lot of deck lists are being posted. A lot of people are keeping, you know, their hand close to their chest because they're going into a meta. Now, I think we all know what's going to be good. Like, okay, so there's always this outlier of maybe there's a deck that some group has built behind closed doors that they're going to show up that's going to be wild and it's going to do something really cool. That's classically, there's a precedent from that. Specifically when there's a meta mix-up a bit before Worlds, where groups will test in private and come up with something really cool, and then they'll show up to Worlds and they'll play it and it can do really well. Now, we might see that. The meta mix-up that we had this year wasn't as big as last year when we got the new cards from the new Uprising set. And it's also not as big as the year before that had like, what, rotation or something? The new Reign and Reverie? I forget. There was a big meta mix-up for sure before that Worlds. But I still think we can have that. But besides that, I think there's still a lot of known quantities of what is good and what you're going to be seeing across the weekend. I think we can break that down into a couple categories. I have no doubt we're going to see just a metric shit ton of Leela. This is a fun deck. I think we're going to see a lot of Leela. I think Asa we're going to see a lot of. We're going to see a mix of Palana and Ag Infusion. I don't think Jinteki is going to be well represented. I think you're going to see the classic like Titan Argus outfit Wayland. Might see CTM, I don't know. And then you're going to see like Hoshiko Val. And then maybe you'll see some Shaper. But I think that's largely what we're going to look at. And I think that like that breaks down to a couple of archetypes. I don't know, y'all. What do you want to do? Baza says outfit and Asa for sure. I think Asa for sure. I think outfit maybe. I feel like outfit did get hit by the loss of SSL, but they still have a pretty cool agenda suite that they can play that doesn't need SSL. But yeah, we'll definitely see outfit. Palana re-education, that's a new agenda suite, you see? So I was thinking maybe today what we could do is go through some of the main big archetypes and talk about how to play against them and kind of their power cards and their win conditions. I feel like that might be nice if you somehow don't know. Maybe you're watching this and be like, oh, I don't understand how Worlds is going to work because I'm new to the game. That's an option. What do y'all think? We can do that. Haley meta. Yeah, I think out of any Shaper, Haley has the chance of being the most popular. Actually, Gregory here, crit. It was really cute. I've been a big fan of the last while now. They've been doing a lot. But the ShadowNet podcast from Phil and Eric. Eric? White Blades? Yeah. Eric doesn't sound right. What am I doing? Anyways, White Blades. They did this really cool community podcast where they interviewed like, I don't know how many people, maybe 40 people, and he asked everybody like, you know, really quick, what do you think is going to win Worlds? It's a really interesting listen. Everyone has their own strong opinions. There's some singing in it. It's pretty good. It's Eric. Yeah, it's Eric. Why did I goof that up? I've been saying White Blades way too much. Pretty sure there'll be no surprises. I think there will be surprises. I think there will be some surprises. I hope there is at least. And before mono liberated Chella Chaos Theory? What's mono mean in that? +1 vote for going over the meta deck list. Okay, cool. Brick, we can do that. ASMR Andre, save the hype, Andre. Yo, it's gonna be ASMR tomorrow for sure. I remember we had to restrict the amount of people who could check Cobra AI because it kept crashing when everyone at Worlds tried to see their pairings. Oh no, there's a chance that might happen. It's worth saying, so on JNet, they recently put in this new tab here that's called Tournament. And I think the idea was that the Tournament tab would be set up by tournament organizers so that you would just log into the tables that would already be made with your pairings on them. This tab won't be in use for Worlds. It's just they didn't have it up, from my understanding, running soon enough. And having it for its inaugural test run during Worlds seems like a bit high stakes. So it's just going to be done the classic way where you make your own tables. But yeah, pairings are, I don't know. I hope Cobra AI can hold on. I'm building a deck composed only of IDs. Ain't no one gonna see it coming. It's Monolith. Monolith rotated. Uh-oh. Okay, now how much Rizeki will there be? Also, hello. Eons, how much Rizeki there would be? Hello. Some? There will be some? I think most criminals run 1 or 2 Rizeki. I don't think they have a reason not to. Shapers, not all Shapers run Rizeki. Like if you look at, here. I don't know if Gregory put a list, but if you look at like the pawn shop Haley, I don't know if maybe it does run 2 Rizekis. Some of them actually didn't even. Crit HD, let's just search Haley. Anarchs, not all Anarchs are running Rizeki. Yeah, it's definitely going to be there, but I don't think it's going to be overbearing. One of the biggest questions is like whether people are going to be playing, what's it called? I forgot where that's going. So this one, yeah, this is like what Gregory thinks is like very convinced it's still one of the best decks in the meta. And I think a bigger part of it is that Gregory is so good at running this. This does not run any Rozekis. This is a Shaper. This doesn't have Apocalypse like some of the other Shapers we saw, but this is like good stuff, very efficient, very flexible. Imp, I think, is a very flexible card right now because Shaper struggles to deal with assets, which you need to be able to deal with in the modern meta. But just like Proco, Aesop's Pawn Shop, Harbinger, good stuff. This doesn't have Rozeki. Shaper's OP, again, this is Simon Moon's Apocalypse list. Again, Shaper not playing Rozeki. Geist at home, it's an interesting list, not Rozeki. So I don't think Shaper plays that much Rozeki, for what it's worth. I think they're already pretty slow in their value, and playing a slow drip card like that might be a bit too slow. That's my way of looking at it. But then when it comes to like Leela, 419, I think Leela is going to be way more represented than 419. I think they can play 1 or 2 Rozekis. It takes up the MU, but it gives them that good drip econ, which they need. It also, yeah, it's good. Anarch, not always. They want to play Stargate a lot of times, which does take up a lot of MU. I don't think people are going to play that much Data Sucker. You definitely could. I just don't think it's a priority to put into your deck. Yeah. So I don't know. Yeah, Sid is saying the game is fast right now and Rozeki is slow, and I think that's totally true. I think Criminal can do it just because they can put on pressure in the early game and maybe get to that. Maybe they don't even play Rozeki and they just run Tapworm, which is kind of a similar idea. But honestly, I don't know. I don't think Rozeki's that good anymore. Night before Christmas, that's my mood well put. Yo, what's up, Phil? How you doing, man? I've been enjoying the podcast. Giles says, I think the tournament tab was going to implement the new decklist hash function to enforce decklist. Yeah, I think so too, that you had to go in and the decklist would be waiting for you. I think there was something like that. I feel like more Crims play Rozeki than Shapers. Yeah, by a huge margin. I expect a lot of Leela out of the blue. I think Leela is going to be, I think there's no surprises here. Leela and Asa are going to be the most represented by a big old margin. And the thing with Asa is like Asa is so flexible at what it does. It's like really hard for you to get a read on what it's doing, but it's just so efficient and plays so many strong cards. Like all the HB assets are just like so weighted in terms of res cost, trash cost. They're very effective. A lot of them represent win conditions as opposed to like, oh, it's just a bad campaign. They have some of the strongest card draw and economy when it comes to cards like Violet Level Clearance, which I think a lot of people were maybe surprised that this didn't get hit by the new Most Wanted list. This card is pretty wild. And then cards like Fully Operational, which is, I've been doing a much better job at remembering the name of this card, which turns out to be incredibly important in the meta. This card is just kind of wild. It's just so wild. And I think if Asa's gonna be well represented, there's certain things you have to play around. Let's talk about Asa deck lists. If there's anything y'all want to talk about, I think we're just gonna go through some of the worlds. There's some of the archetypes that we're gonna see at Worlds and talk a bit about like how you play around them and what you need to do. And I don't know, how not to shit the bed. I think it's a bit harder. Like the cool thing about this meta is I think we're going to see a lot less like CTM, and I don't think we're going to see a lot of like Jinteki trap decks. So I feel like you still obviously need to play really well to be able to win the game, but there's less decks where it's like, oh, you make one fatal mistake, you lose the whole game, which CTM was really good at doing. Let's see what this looks like. Yo, Sokka, what up? What a great stream title from Phil's podcast. I also heard it's starting to look a lot like Asa. Yeah, we're going to see that coming in tomorrow too. That was a surprising song. I really enjoyed it. Also, best of luck, Sokka. You're definitely, a lot of Canadians are pinning their banners to you, man. Purple CTM only? Yeah, purple. I actually did a test today of playing like the old Boom False Lead CTM. The kind of spagsy CTM is the way I remember it, at least. And that deck got a lot worse because it doesn't play a lot of agendas. Like it was running like Bologna SSL False Lead, and then it had to play like an Explodapalooza because agenda slots. And now without SSL, it's a lot worse. It's really a lot worse. So we'll got to figure that out. Yo, Sads, what up? Purple CTM needs more Malia. I actually saw that today. I saw people playing Malia Zaloka. So I took the day off to do some things and catch up on things. And I spent a fair bit of time just like going into JNet lobbies and watching CTM decks. I saw CTMs with Malia Zaloka, and I think that's really cool. I think Malia Zaloka is just like a really fun card. And like they just need small HB stuff to hit alliance values, and this card can be pretty good. I don't know what CTM's so unfairly maligned. Hey, Walloon. Yeah, we can talk about that. This card is really cool. I don't know what is the god hit on this? Like, what is the nuts? I don't know what the nuts is on this, but it's really good. Like I think liberated counts as the nuts, right? Like someone turn one's put down a liberated count and you Amalia it, and then their CTM, and they have 6 credits tied into this thing that gives them nothing. Fad says hit my Proco yesterday. That's pretty good too. Turn 1 Proco, immediately Amalia. Can't play traps with Crims mostly on 3x falsified. Yeah, no, it's hard. It's definitely hard. But I don't think a lot of people are playing like Caldera or like chip damage protection. I don't know. When do we break down play liberated Cella? Miss Bones? Miss Bones is really good, actually. I think Miss Bones might be one of the best targets for this. Miss Bones is going to be everywhere. There is a chance, and again, some of y'all might have built these decks already, but there is a chance that we're going to see criminal lists with 3 Miss Bones in them. And I don't think it's wrong. Miss Bones is so incredibly good. Okay, so this is actually interesting when it comes to CTM. This is Miss Bones. You put her down for 2. She's unique, so you can only put 1 of her down at least at a time, and she gives you basically 10 credits overall of trash costs. Now, these trash costs are all up at front. It's cards that you're accessing. Oh, it's just installed cards. Okay, so it doesn't care that you access them, but I guess that usually happens. You can't pull up with this, I mean. And that's really good. Because again, we just talked about Asa. We'll be getting back to that in a second, but the idea is against Asa, these gives you the credits up front early to trash some of their like 4 to cost 5 crash trashed assets while losing a lot of tempo. And that's really, really strong. But I think, oh, Miss Bones and Pawn Shop, yeah, that is really cool. I think one of the biggest things though about Miss Bones specifically, and this is a CTM thing, is that against controlling the message, one of the best things you can do is trash multiple things a turn, right? Because the controlling the message trace only fires the first time a turn that an installed card is trashed. And what's different from cards like Scrubber to this is this gives you a lot of credits up at once. So it's very easy for you to play Miss Bones and trash 3 things, as opposed to, again, like cards that, no, not that people play Scrubber, but like the idea is like cards with Scrubber were better at trashing 1 thing a turn. And Miss Bones is way better, like flattening the board early. And I think we're going to see a lot of Miss Bones. Malia Class Act? So that's what I saw actually today. It's not bad. It's not bad, but the thing is a lot of decks play multiple Class Acts. It's good though. It's definitely good. Okay, let's talk about Asa. All right. CTM opens up a lot of interesting decisions for players to make, but ultimately seems to often to be about how long the runner lasts before going tag me. Yeah, so we talked about CTM being maligned, and in terms of like competitive Netrunners, CTM makes very exciting matchups. They put pressure in you in many different ways. There's a lot of like hidden information matters, naked remotes matters, and I think all that stuff is really interesting. It is very, very capable that the runner can mess up and then CTM capitalizes on that catastrophically. There's also a lot of excitement where at some point you decide to go tag me and then you have to close the game before either you die or the psychographics out a win or exchange of information, anything like that. And I think all that stuff is really good and really exciting. I think some of the most tense Netrunner games I've spectated have been CTM games. Now the problem is like CTM in terms of like casual play, it's largely hard-hitting news, stuff like that. It's really, really not fun if you don't respect it, and that only comes with knowledge and practice. So the idea is like, oh, you run turn 1, you hit a Mumbet Virtual Tour, you have no money, hard-hitting news, like that feels like shit. That feels awful, where the game punished you for interaction, let alone like, you know, touching one of their assets upgrades. So that's it. I think that's why largely people don't like it, and the fact that it's like seems really strong, but it's eluded any sort of like balancing changes for a long time. I understand why people don't like it, but I think it's great. Yo, Fulton, how's it going, man? Are you playing? Okay, so let's talk about Asa. Asa Group, it is a deck that is probably going to win Worlds. And there's a lot of different Asa Group decks. I think I only opened up 1, which is a huge mistake because there's so many Asa decks that can win in way different ways. Some of them are similar, but they all have the same sort of basis, which is like efficiency on setting up and cheap and efficient ice, barring some other stuff, and then a lot of assets that can all represent win conditions. So this is called Tablet Asa. Chris Ferg won the Euro Africa Continentals with this. Cody almost won another Continentals with the same deck list. It's very good. This list is actually attributed to somebody else originally, so this is not Chris Ferg's invention, but Chris Ferg did well with it. Okay, cool. This is a legal deck. Why are you saying it's not? So the big thing about Tablet Asa, Asa's ability is once per turn. When you install a card each turn, you can install additional non-agenda card from HQ inner protecting that server. That's a really big deal because it's kind of like Haley. For one click, you install two things. You put something in a server and you put something in front of a server, and you still have a lot more actions to do on your turn. That's super efficient. But on top of that, why that's super efficient is this deck loves building multiple remotes, and multiple remotes is a really good way of getting use out of this because you're forcing people to have a breaker to deal with a potential face check, to deal with breaking an ice, to check multiple things, as opposed to a lot of decks which will build a taxing remote, but that'll be the only remote that you have to check every 1 or 2 turns. And this is cool because it puts more things in more places, and so there's more problems you have to deal with, if that makes sense. On top of that, that efficiency is really good because it's tied up to fully operational, a card that is absolutely super wild, because this card can easily gain you like 8 credits, draw 2 cards once you're set up really well with this. And again, the efficiency of Asa sets up this really well. Now, not a lot of ice in this deck. It's kind of one of its weaknesses is that the ice in this deck is pretty limited. Now, again, this is not the only Asa deck, and a big part of playing against this deck is quickly figuring out what sort of Asa you're playing against, because a lot of them have entirely different win conditions that you have to respect differently, which is a problem. But the ice suite in a lot of ways is pretty similar. When it comes to barriers, HB has some good in-faction barriers. We haven't seen a lot of Eli recently, but we have seen a lot more Hagen. And why? Because Hagen's good. Hagen's really good. The -1 strength for each installed icebreaker doesn't matter at the beginning of the game. The end of the run is really strong on a 6 strength, usually not 6 strength barrier, but the trash one program that's not a decoder, fractor, or killer is really important. This shuts down early Rizekis, this shuts down early Stargates, this shuts down early Amakuas, AI breakers that don't have subtypes like decoder, fractor, or killer. This is so good for the price, and it's a really reasonable face check. Yeah, no, this is good. This is sometimes it's actually worth respecting. Like if you're playing against an HB deck and you have a Rizeki, maybe you want to install that after your face check. Otherwise, you're going to lose that. Again, Rizeki might not be the best card of the matchup, but this is worth playing around to some extent. Then the code gates, Gatekeeper. Very, very strong when it gets rezzed again at 6th strength. But it's important to note that after it's been rezzed, it's only 0 strength, which makes it very weak to most breakers, and Amakua also eats this pretty well. The first subroutine is pretty good, especially in the early game when this is more likely to fire, draw up to 3 cards, put cards back into R&D. That's obviously good. That's kind of a cool thing you want to do with this deck. It's like there's not that many painful face checks, right? Like the gatekeepers can be bad, but once that face check has fired, this becomes a 0 strength code gate, and that's a huge difference on a turn where running through the remote is like the game winning play or not. Hagen too, like you can largely face check into this as long as you don't have one of these things installed. That would matter. Amakua is generally the thing that you're scared of face checking into this, so you got to figure out what the number is for the strength based off of how many installed icebreakers you have. Now, I've seen decks that are playing more and more Fairchild 3s, and I think Fairchild 3 is the better end of the ice that this deck has. Fairchild 3 is really good. If you have 3 clicks, you can always click through this, and that's a really big deal because this deck has ways to take clicks away from you, but this is actually hard to deal with. With Black Orchestra, one of the very popular decoders in the game, it costs like 12 credits to get through this the first time. Now, you can always just trash one of your cards if it doesn't matter. Sometimes it saves you money, but this is good. Running early in the turn can be really good against HB Biroids, but again, the majority of HB decks you'll be seeing tomorrow and the day after probably are not running Biroids. So this is the only one that you have to respect. This one's also obviously different than the 1.0s and 2.0s because you can only spend 3 clicks. You can't spend 1 click per subroutine and then let some other ones fire. So watch out. And then you have Drafter. It's a really strong card. It's not Architect. It doesn't block R&D. There'll be some turns where people will just fire through this because they're stargating you and it shouldn't matter, but it's obviously very good, especially because this card can recur anything. Unlike Architect, this can actually bring back operations to your hand. So that means another fully operational, which is very, very, very important. And then Tour Guide. Tour Guide's a big deal. A lot of times this deck can get to a lot of assets, just like a CTM deck, and then this has a lot of end the run subroutines. Now there are ways to deal with this, and you might see certain people tech around ways to deal with this. Talking about tech is pretty silly because deck lists are already submitted, but there are breakers that break all subroutines for a set cost. Like we're looking at Adore in Anarch. Grappling Hook largely works in Criminal, but that's mostly Geist. I don't know, does Shaper have any smart way of dealing with this? Does Lamb still exist? I don't feel like it. Frank said it can't, too much work. Started teaching this year and swarmed. Good swarmed. Oh, are you teaching at school or are you from home? Anarcha, what up? World type. Yo, what up? Kinchin also, yo, we minority reporting cards up. Let's go. Yo, welcome. Saka says late response, but thank you for the kind words. Team Canada will hopefully get some good results this weekend. I think so. I think so. Anarcha says, man, Asa is my favorite corp ID, so I'm glad it's good. But so sad it's going to hit the post-worlds ban list. I hope. It might. It's interesting to see what would happen to this deck. Now, in the last ban list update, they said that like the way that they hurt other IDs makes it easier for you to focus on this. And that's like such a big deal when it comes to this meta, right? Like I think going into this meta, people have a really good understanding of what's strong, right? Like again, we're talking about criminal decks that might be showing up with 3 copies of Mistbones, if not 2, maybe 3, probably 2. And the idea is like maybe you can show up with something that's like ridiculously opposite to this and then capitalize on that. Like that's always what's interesting when people call the meta really hard. When like, you know, smart deck builders and smart meta thinkers think like, okay, everyone's gonna have to deal with Asa, which means they're gonna have to be able to deal with this sort of ice this quickly. They're gonna have to be able to contest remotes. Central pressure is really strong, and then they use that idea of seeing what decks people will build to counter this, and then counter those, if that makes sense. And that actually can be very, very potent. But we'll see. We'll definitely see. Paint an Oiler? Yeah, I guess so. Yeah. You're right. The Stealth AI Breaker, that's one way to do it. Jeff's saying also Shrike. Yeah, Shrike from Sunny does it, but that generally doesn't see a lot of play outside of Sunny anymore. Anyways, keeping the assets down also is really important. Like that's such a big deal against this deck, and it's really kind of hard to make the call right now on paper of when to do it. But this deck's all its powers comes from its assets and from the fact that it has assets behind ice for fully operational. If you can just keep their assets down, this deck can't punish you. Like that's one of the big things when it comes to controlling the message. That was a deck that even if you interact with them and keep them down, sure, they're pretty weak, but they have a chance of responding to it. And this deck doesn't have a chance to so unfairly respond, if you want to call it hard-hitting news unfair. Like if you can keep them down, they're going to be down. So do be careful of that. Like sometimes be mindful of that. Like sometimes the best practice for tour guys is like, oh, I have an Amakua, I'll just trash enough assets where I can pay 4. That's fine. Was surprised there wasn't more Chisel and Continentals. Yo, that's actually an interesting thing. Yo, what up? Yo, Mike, how's it going? That there was a conversation between oh shit, I forget his name. Works on the Most Wanted list if I'm not mistaken. That was on the ShadowNet. The guy from Australia. Piss, I forget his name. But he was talking about how Gold Farmer, they thought to some extent that if there was more Chisel, that card would be a bit more reasonable, which does make sense. Yeah, cards like this, obviously low strength stuff is very good. Morgan, thank you. Chisel's so slow, could be wrong. Sengren, what's up? Yeah, no, I believe that Chisel is just a bit too slow, and people would just be like, I'll play Hippo and call it a day. It's kind of a meta call, right? Like there's certain decks that it's pretty bad against, but it could be good. Teaching at school still, not sure until when. Oh, bummer. Ika, yikes. You don't get HHN until you run to the kill asset. Yeah, Krabs, we'll get there. We'll definitely get there. I feel like it's going to be VLC, fully op requires work. Yeah, I think if any card will be banned, it'll probably be fully op. But there's a big chance that they won't have to do that, right? Because Cybernetics Court rotates this December. So like if Cybernetics Court doesn't exist, fully op isn't absurd, or Violet level isn't absurd, barring maybe Jinja. Chisel's pretty dead against Kentucky. Yeah, without Kakugo, it's pretty dead. Unless you like really have a problem with Thimble Rig for some reason. Okay, anyways, that's the ice. Not a lot of it. Not a lot of it. And they have to spread it out. Like you don't see a lot of ice that have 3 ice on the server. But again, that's the idea, is they have multiple servers and all of this ice is difficult to get through. Like taxing enough, especially on maybe the first time with Gatekeeper. I think against this deck, you need to keep their econ down early. You should probably be face checking, right? Like Tour Guide, pretty fine face check. Drafter, it's not the best. Gatekeeper is okay. If this fires early, it's going to be shitty for the rest of the game. That's probably worth taking the risk. Fairchild 3 can be difficult. It's a hell of a hit, but 6 credits is a lot for this deck if it's not set up. And Hagen, face check that whenever you want, specifically if they don't have anything that is a problem. Now the agenda suite of this deck, this is a really interesting agenda suite. Well, it's more about the issue that's hard to tell about Worlds, right? So SSL got banned, and SSL was the most common 5-3 in the game, I think, unscientifically. That feels like the case. And so now decks either have to be running, I don't think there's any, decks basically are going to be running Global Food Initiative on top of a bunch of 2-point agendas, which means as a runner, you have to steal 4 agendas without tricks. Now, if that's popular in the meta, it's really good for you to play cards like Notoriety or cards that give you another way to get an agenda point. Cassie String seems good against Asa Group. Not exactly, but that is really important. Other lists will be running real 3-pointers, and so you only need 3 agendas to win. The question of whether you bring notoriety to Worlds is kind of interesting, because you're seeing like in the Infusion and Palana decks, some are playing Global Food Initiative, so you have to steal 4 agendas. Some are just saying, fuck it, Obokata is a good card. So I don't know. Against this sort of list, like, I don't think you're going to see any real 5/3s, barring maybe Vacheron, which is probably pretty good still, if the deck can go fast enough. I think that's cool. Reprint Vamp for CI? Uh-oh. Oh no. Allowing purple to have massive hand size is OP. No way we could have known that. Just play Atman 5 against Jinteki? Yeah, that does it, right? Well, what does it do? It's actually paid. Engram Flush. Anansi. Kind of ends there, though. It's good, though. Terrence, what up? Talking deck building decisions post the deck list submission deadline. I know, I shouldn't talk about deck listing. We should talk about how to beat the deck. So I have no doubt a lot of the things you have to do is keep their assets down, because some of the assets represent win conditions. Rashida obviously is a really good card. Mamba Temple, it's their economy, not the most necessary thing to keep down. If they have a lot of money, this thing, you probably shouldn't worry about it. Austerity policy, though, you need to worry about that. Aeon says Ripstream, is it okay? Giles Noto MVP? I think Noto could be really good. Could be really good. Are you really a serious player if you don't have a time machine, though? Uh-oh. Wait, did the stream go down? It's back now? Okay, hey, welcome back. Austerity policy is obviously a really strong win condition for this deck. If they have an austerity policy up and a Jeeves up, they can actually do a heck of a lot. This also robs your clicks, which makes the Fairchild 3 face check a bit harder. I've seen other versions of this deck. I think Cody was playing this deck and actually had 2 Fairchilds in it, which I think makes a lot of sense, just because it is a taxing ice and there's not a lot of like Anarch decks struggle with Fairchild, and making them run through a Fairchild 3 remote pretty consistently can be hard. Card is a win condition. Maryland campaign, it's their economy. You can trash it, I guess. But like cards like this are so important. Jeeves is really important. You need to trash this thing. You really do. With Jeeves on the board and they have access to biotic labor and Vitruvius counters and austerity policy, they can do so much more. Now 5/2 makes us like super weighted, but this card is like so powerful in terms of like just the amount of plays it opens up. Even with like turns we can do like install, and then fully operational, like you can do some wild stuff. You definitely need to prioritize trashing this to some extent. That was a non-committal answer. Cybernex Court, you probably can't trash this if you don't have like ways to trash it for free. If you're not Freedom or you don't have Imp or Miss Bones, like it's kind of really hard to take this. They generally have more of them. That being said, if you see 2 in the bin and you find the 3rd one and you trash it, they might be in a problem. That's good. Can you pressure HQ, and then they can't keep as many cards in their hand, which is good for Lakshmi, which is the other win condition. So when it comes to win conditions, and I think this is a really big thing, is the Anarchs I think are going to attack with Imp. I think we're going to see 3 Imp, 2 Imp in some of the Anarch decks coming in tomorrow and the day after. And that's because it's a nice way, kind of like Miss Bones, to be able to early pressure and early destroy things that are on the table while not losing too much money. And it's also a very flexible card because you can pivot to Centrals and use it to trash ice, multi-axis, and or like trash cards from hand from like Wayland decks that are holding onto like Consulting Visit and stuff like that. And I think Imp is also a really big deal against a lot of agendas modernly. Things like Vacheron, which doesn't fire from archives, or you don't have to steal an Obokata protocol when you don't have enough cards in hand, or with Lakshmi say fuck off and then you imp their agenda. Like those are all very, very reasonable plays, and I think we're going to see a lot of imp. It actually makes the Cyberdex Virus Suites more interesting, even in decks that might not be like super weak to Amakua. I'm interested to see how that goes, but like early imps can be really devastating as long as you can like get through stuff. Again, Hagen will eat the imp. Now, how do you win against this deck? Yo, Cody, how's it going? You playing tomorrow? I take it, right? You can't wake up at 2 in the morning. Also, Matthew Lloyd, how's it going? Missed this. Always miss this. Welcome. Hope the stream quality is okay at this point. It seems good on my side. Otherwise, like, okay, so how to win against this deck? It is very difficult. They're very efficient, but there are definitely cards that you need to target. Their win conditions are tied into a couple cards. Firstly, Tour Guide can get out of hand. As long as you have the economy and ways to deal with that, so be it. Making sure they don't have an absurd amount of remotes and stuff in it, that helps too with the Tour Guide and the fully op. But that can be hard to do. But in terms of the assets that need to go down, it's hard for this deck to score honestly in a remote server. But if you can deal with Jeeves, it helps. If you can deal with Lakshmi and MCA austerity some policy, that's where the majority of the pressure from this deck is. It's gonna be hard to deal with all this stuff, but at least like maybe don't break your back to trash to like, I don't know, the Mamba Temple. even early. I don't think it's worth it unless their money is garbage. It's also very important to know where the agendas are. Keep track of what gatekeepers fire. If gatekeeper fires, you know the agendas are going to be in R&D, and that's worth pressuring. This deck is really good at building out horizontally, but it's not good at like triple icing R&D or triple icing a remote or an HQ, which means central pressure is really important. Sometimes even as long as you have a really good startup and your economy isn't that bad, you could, like, they don't have that much ice. You could drop down a Stargate and pressure relatively early and just start trashing like important pieces and pieces of ice. This deck also has very little, and this is only this deck list, mind you, has very little recursion. The only recursion they have is if a drafter fires or if they over advance Vitruvius, which that second one actually isn't that hard for this deck to do. So like putting the pressure on centrals again is really, really good. This deck is also like shit weak to Apocalypse, I think, and I think Apocalypse is going to be a really big deal. I think there's going to be a lot of Apocalypse. Legal Apocalypse, I don't know, but a lot. You're waking up at 6 on Saturday? No way. Cody, you playing tomorrow? Okay, awesome. Elon says, I'm sad the freedom is so bad now with all the generically good virus hate out there. There's a lot of virus hate, and I think Asa is so good that you still might want to consider putting Amaku in your deck, but I think there is so much virus hate that it's really hard to rely on it. Are people playing Imp without Knob Curry? Yeah, definitely. Definitely, 100%. 100%. Terrence, good luck on Saturday, man. That's rough. Anywho, I think that's a really big deal. Putting on some central pressure really, really hurts, and that's good. But again, this is only one Asa list. Cody says, I've been seeing 3 missed bones from all Leelas. Yeah, I was saying earlier on the stream, I think you're going to see 2 missed bones, if not 3, just because that early pressure to keep things down is such a big deal. Now, there are other Asa lists. It's really hard to talk about Sid's list because Sid's list is so wild and so different from everything else. We also didn't mention the other lists with daily quests. Well, this is a lot of their economy early. If you can't actually like threaten a daily quest, like, you're good. This is worth trashing early for sure. But Sid's list is like wildly different. I'll be very excited if anybody plays this, let alone Sid plays this, because it is so wild. It has a lot of things that are... I don't want to say not worth talking about because this deck is so cool, but also like the fact that people don't know what's happening is a really big reason. This agenda suite's also really fun. It looks like awful, but it actually is pretty good because Vashron is really, really good. And then the food actually matters. A+, I love this deck. Punitive. Let's just say the other things you have to worry about are other ways that people are going to win. This deck has to make changes. You saw this deck being played to some extent through Continentals. This is the big unit. I think Simon Moon was playing a version of this as well. But the idea with this list is that we'll be running False Lead. This one isn't, but it'd be running False Lead, and then it has access to like MC Austerity Policy, and then you're trying to go really aggressive and really fast because it's like, oh, I got to keep this tablet Asa down, and then you step out of line and they economic warfare you and hard-hitting news you, and then you don't have enough clicks to clear everything, and then you die. Yeah, the one that Simon Moon was playing actually ran more False Leads, which I think is such a valuable card if this is your game plan. I feel like we're not going to see a lot of Shapers, so like hard-hitting news seems okay because I don't think people are going to be playing Misdirection. Yeah, this seems reasonable. I don't know how it stacks up. I haven't seen enough of this, but I think people are going to get, and I don't want to use the word cheesed, but I think people are going to like play against something else and then die to something they weren't expecting. And it's probably not wrong. Like, it's really hard to not be aggressive against this sort of deck and then hope to win. Like, you have to be aggressive. So that's kind of an issue here, huh? I don't know if anyone knows smart about this. CVS and Imp seems rough for the court. Well, the thing I'm talking about, like CVSing and Imp, is that when it comes down to like if it protects an agenda, yes, right? The idea is like somebody thinks, oh, I'm going to CVS this or Imp this Obokata or Imp this agenda so I don't get punitive. That's worth a CVS usually, but yeah, it's hard. A lot of those decks are also running Obokata decks. Some of them are running Sandbox. It's a bit easier. What's the SSL replacement in this HHN deck? Fuck if I know. I don't know. Maybe, and this is terrible because you'll need more money, but maybe you can play that voting initiative one, the one that gives them 1 fewer click. That kind of works with your game plan. Sokka says, I don't agree with it, but I've seen voting machine initiative. Yeah, right? Yeah, I don't think that sounds great either. Let's see, hope to see 7-point punitives again. I didn't realize we saw that. Cool. This is another deck. Oh, Pincel. Whoa, I forgot that this is the deck that won Nisei Worlds. Pincel, this is another version. We haven't even talked about fucking Sportsmetal. We're gonna see a lot of Sportsmetal tomorrow too, and the day after. This is another version. This is a combo version as well. You see, it's the same sort of Ice Sweet. Architect was around back then, but you got the Hagens, the Gatekeepers. That's good stuff. And then this combos out with Reconstruction Contract. How did this deck win? Double Biotic helps. Man, that's wild. You have a legal version of this? You think that's going to see play? That's so wild. Yeah, this looks good though. I say more Vitruvius than Ikoa. Oh yeah, Ikoa's a card too. You could play Ikoa. Ikoa's not bad. It's slightly defensive. I got 6th in NA. 5-point combo with this? Yes. So, okay, the thing about this deck is like once you got Restruction Contract and then you get a Vitruvius with a lot of counters on it, you can go like infinitely. Where you do like install agenda, dedicate Vitruvius, like you can do absurd stuff. I totally believe it. The thing that's like so surprising to me is that there's one-ofs of these cards and no way to tutor them. But I guess you have so much card draw. Sid, what is that image? Uh-oh, I just opened it. Said use Counter-Strike to do 7 damage. Nice. That's art. The 5-point combo was have F scored. Oh yeah, but that doesn't exist anymore, does it? Yeah, sorry, this deck really needed this card, which rotated, unfortunately. Yeah, Jeeves or Coco, you can do some stuff. Nice. Super cool. Okay, so what's everyone's hot tech around Asa? I think there's a fair few, and I think we're going to see some really interesting stuff. Okay, this might be conjecture, but a lot of times that we saw Asa decks and Continentals, they would go pretty low to the end of their deck. They would go pretty low to the end of their deck. And that means that they're actually kind of weak to milling. I've seen a lot of Leela decks that are running, what's it called? Fisk Seminar, and then like a lot of ways to recur it. Cards like, Labor Rights, and they'll keep Fisking them. The thing with Fisk is like, it's kind of difficult, especially because Fisk is actually kind of bad if they're playing Lakshmi Smart Fabrics, because it gives them more abilities to protect the cards in hand, so it's hard to put pressure on. But if you play Fisks and like target their Cybernex court, that does something. But I think the bigger thing that we might see is like Black File. I'm really excited. Yeah, Terrence says Black File. I'm really excited to see Black File, whether this actually has a meta impact. Because a lot of these decks, like they will go low to deck count. They'll have like 4 cards left, and then you can play a Black File and then be like, okay, now you have to survive a couple turns, or all I'm going to do is replay Fisk Seminars. I'm convinced that's going to happen. Fisk is just too much tempo for the corp. Yeah, Isengrin, I believe that. If it's Asa, it's too much tempo. If it's like, I don't know, maybe Palana, it's probably still too much tempo. But if you're like Leela, where you can slow them down, maybe you also play Tapworm, maybe you play Hernando Cortez, maybe you can get away with it. But yeah, obviously giving the corp cards seems rough. Luxac 6 points and Noto, I don't know. Yeah, we obviously talked about Mrs. Bones, which is obviously very strong. Imp is very strong. Anything that lets you control the board. I think almost all their ice is weak to Boomerang, barring the Fairchild 3, which you can always pay through. Inside Job, stuff like that's really good, because this deck a lot of times won't be spending too much ice on a remote server. So all that stuff is really nice for you. Same idea is that they're not icing up stuff too much. Leela does have good impact, where she can bounce the single ice on centrals and go in on there. Central pressure again. Central pressure is really good. They can't often put 2 ice on a central server, so any sort of central pressure can do it. Legwork also seems pretty good. There's a lot of agendas in hand. There really is a lot of agendas in hand when they have a huge hand size and draw a lot, and then they don't score. Like, just check. Like, it's really easy to be like, oh, it's 5 turns in. It's 5 turns in and they haven't scored an agenda. I think there's 1 in hand, right? But if it's 5 turns in and they've drawn 10 cards, there's probably like 3 agendas in a hand. So do keep that in mind when you're playing against this deck. This deck draws a lot, and it's not usually filter draw like Daily Business Show. It is just drawing agendas and other shit. If they fire a gatekeeper, different story, but then you know what the agendas are in R&D, so do watch out for that. In chat also was said political operative. I think political operative is really strong right now for so many reasons. It goofs up La Costa Grid. It goofs up almost all this Asa shit. Like, you just can't rely on any win condition if Paul up is off. This might be worth putting 2 of in your deck. This seems really, really good. So that's nice. Sneak Door Beta also can do work, but I think you need more accesses. I don't know. Usually if Asa's down to low cards, it'll be hard to time Black File because of Bionic. To some extent, yeah, it's difficult, but you could do it. I think Geist might be able to do some Street Peddler tricks, but they have very little control over that. Information sifting rotate. Jeff, how's it going? No, it didn't. It did not rotate, but I don't know. I think in most matchups you'd rather have this as legwork, but you're right. If they have a huge hand, this is kind of cool. It's just not very good. Hot tag versus Asa Cybernex card? Yeah, I don't know. Mill will never work against combo decks and good players. If you start milling, they just stop drawing. Yeah, the thing is, like, if it's a surprise mill, right? Like, if they don't know, and then you get to the end of your deck, and then you start fisking them with Black File. Like, that's the real threat. Because I think turn one fisking an Asa is not a good idea. Let's say nicely. I hope not too many people will play Klakotza's Nat deck just to mill people, because that's so boring to play against. Is that what you're worried about? All right. So that's Asa. You're gonna buckle up, y'all. You're gonna see a lot of Asa tomorrow and on Saturday. I have no doubt. The good thing is that they're kind of interesting. There's like a lot of lines of plays. You also do get to see like very powerful turns, which is exciting. Like people who are scoring a successful field test, but before they score it, they play like a fully operational to draw like 10, and then they install the board. So yeah, there's a lot of stuff you can do. What a nutty card. Did anyone ever try it against CI? Yeah, information sifting was actually a really hot a tech card at the Worlds where CIs were relevant. This was actually played a fair bit. You probably can actually see it if you look it up. It's a silly card. But we're at a point where the competitive decks were like this meta to some extent, and not entirely. I remember a meta where CI was like, everyone knew CI would win Worlds. Everyone knew the top would be like, this feels a lot like that to me, where everyone knew the top would be CI, and then you had to tech against it because it was so prevalent, and there were still like 2 or 3 good CI decks. They weren't all the same. Some of them were doing kill, some of them were doing a wilder agenda suite with kill, it was brain rewiring stuff, some of them could just score points out, and you had to like tech against all of that stuff. And this to some extent feels like it, but there's other decks that are just as relevant. But I think everybody knows there's going to be so much CI. Oh yeah, there's an information something in a World's winning deck list. Yeah, this was in the CI meta. Chaos Juggler won with CI on the other side. But yeah, this even had a sifting in Haley, which is wild. The Da Vinci meta. I don't know, before Nationals, every other game I played on JNet was Nat. That's so wild, man. I walk away from stream for 5 minutes and we're on 50-50. Have we done CVI raid yet? Glut Oh man, Glut I can't believe we saw Glut on the Intercontinentals. I think we did. We saw Glut on the stream. It was great. Glut is so good. Anywho, that's awesome. We're gonna see a lot of it. We really are. Can anyone talk about Sportsmetal combos? Because you're also gonna see a lot of that. Sportsmetal? Is that what it's called? Is it one word? Yeah. Okay, Sportsmetal combo decks. I think Sportsmetal combo decks are going to do way better than people might think. These have been around for a long time. The CTZ Morphling deck, I don't think is exactly it. But there's a lot of different like versions of combo decks. This one's a bit different. What are the really good ones? There's some been really, really strong ones. The No Ice deck, yeah, right. There's been some really, really strong ones. German players play these generally pretty good, huh? Does anybody know what I'm talking about? There's a couple versions of these combo decks, and they basically rely on 2 things. The No Ice one is very good versus Obnoxious. I feel like the No Ice one just like straight up loses to Stargate. Unquestionable. Okay. So, the idea with these sort of decks, Sportsmetal, their ability fires when agenda is scored or stolen. That's really good. And because they run a lot of agendas, a lot of 1-pointers, good stuff. They also run news teams, so some of the agendas can be fewer than that. And if you want to float the tags, generally the punishment is just like losing your resources. But this deck actually ran a boom, which they couldn't tutor, but they have a lot of card draw, so that's interesting. The agendas are good. You got Hyperloop Extension, which is nice when you score at 5. If they don't, whatever. Make a Pre-Qualifier can become a 2-pointer, which is really good. Project Vacheron is a strong card, but again, Stargate will put this into archives. And then the Futures Now is actually a really relevant card, because then you can find that one of Boom if you need it. On the assets, you have weird things like CSR campaign is obviously, I think it's strange. There's no real punishment for them preventing you from trashing the assets. The big question is, though, for the assets is, are they agendas or not? Because the winning combo in this deck is not to steal agendas until you win the game. And that's a really, really, really big thing when it comes to understanding when you're playing against Sportsmetal combo decks. It's all about these 2 cards, right? Toth Baby killed with Sports last year Worlds. Okay, I'll check that out if they have a deck list. Chaos Juggler will be doing some commentary tomorrow in the later rounds if you want some World Scoops. Oh, shit. I didn't know. Heck yeah. That's Jess, right? That's Jess. So fast break, gain X credits, drop to X cards, install up to X cards, and X is the number of agendas in the runner score area. That's a really big deal. You want the runner to steal a lot of agendas, news team counts as agendas, and then you play this and you can draw your whole deck and you're set up for a combo. On top of that, obviously you have Game Changer. While this card is trashable, this deck will run like preemptive actions and like 3 archive memories, so it's always kind of in hand. This, you gain a click for each agenda in the runner score area, and it's very easy for that number to be like 5 or 6, which is absolutely wild, right? Because the news teams, the Vashron's worth 0, the false leads, all that stuff adds up, and then they can combo out in one turn in a really strong way. So the best way to play against this deck is to steal no agendas, and that's why they can kind of get away with just installing agendas naked, right? Install, okay, you steal it? No, I'll score it. Good enough for me. Data dealer, all the agendas. I think Data Dealer is actually an interesting tech card in the modern meta. I don't know if it's good enough, but it's pretty good. This deck also has stock buyback, so they can make good money no matter, well, if they're behind on the back foot. But the big reason that these decks lose is to things like Freedom, to things like Imp, to things like Stargate, especially because this has no ice. It has literally no way of stopping the Stargate more than just like jamming out faster than you could score out, which maybe it could do. Maybe it really could do. So all you do, Stargate agendas, put them to archives, don't run archives until there's 7 points in there. Remember, Vashron doesn't fire from archives. Also, if you do have 2 imps, and I imagine we're going to see 2 imps and a lot of Anarch cards, just imp agendas. If you're Freedom and you have a Knob Kari, oh, rest in peace. You're in a really bad spot. Playing against this poorly will lose you the game 90% of the time. Unless you luck sack like Vashron's off the top of the deck really quickly, or from Stargates really early. But if you do anything else, I think it might be a bit difficult. Now, there's other versions of this deck that will run things like Arella Salvatore and calibration testing and Breaker Bay Grid, which is what I usually think of, but we couldn't find the deck list. And those are very strong because they can just be set up. You can have 3 agendas and they can fire off. Now, it's largely the same idea. The worst thing you can do against that matchup is steal agendas. So if you have a way to put agendas into archives or forfeit agendas like Data Dealer, it can be really good. Sengrin says Leela can be rough too. Yeah, that's why this deck runs like nothing they can bounce. But yeah, Leela is definitely good against a deck that has this many agendas. It's just hard to keep their economy down when they have stock buyback and all their agendas give them points. But yeah, totally. Art Colony eats these list. Oh my god, Art Colony. Yeah, Artist Colony is another thing that you could do. The thing is, like, I don't know, we're gonna see a lot of play, Shaper play, but yeah, the thing is, like, Shaper play is just good against this anyways, because you can always clot if you have clot and Shaper, which you usually do, maybe. And this deck I don't think has CVS. It might have enough time in one of the ridiculous Game Changer turns to be able to just purge before they score out everything, but yeah, that also hurts them for sure. Oh, thank you, Brick. Hold on. I want to see By Any Means. Yeah, By Any Means works. It's just like, okay. I checked with Data Dealer Melila deck. Hell yeah. I'm interested to see if that does something. Okay, so this is the earlier versions. This is old. This is not modern, and it can't be because a lot of rotation. But you see what this deck does. Even more agendas, team sponsorships, and it can infinitely combo out with cards like Arella Salvatore, Breaker Bay Grid, calibration testing. This core still exists in the modern meta. It might still happen. Cerebral Static doesn't exist anymore, but this is mostly for Leela, if I'm not mistaken. And then I think basically you just the ice suite here is weird because this ice suite is incredibly strong and you actually can't do that. So you can just play other ice or no ice, but I think no ice is probably wrong just because Stargate is pretty common. Anyways, I think some amount of Sportsmetal combo is going to be a pretty big deal, and it's the sort of deck again where if you play against it, your win rate if you play against it improperly, your win rate plummets. Just because it's so hard to get to 7 points with all these like fake points and like negative points before they have enough stuff to just combo out. And there's very few decks that can interact with the combo out. I don't know how much embezzle we're going to see. It feels like you need a tech against other stuff. I lost numerous times with Stargate against Clacots on this. Ah, bummer. I had a friend from my meta who was testing it and they said that their win rate was abysmal. They were playing Imp and Stargate. Okay. Are we gonna see any other HB? Like, there's always a couple of people that like to play the Nisa HB one, Mirror Morph, but I don't know. I feel like so much of the power of that deck is just like Austerity Policy is a good card. I'm gonna pour myself some water. How's everyone doing? How much grinding y'all been doing? I love just like tuning into JNet and watching people play. There's so many private matches. There's so many, like, I would say Smurfs. I smurfed today. Yeah, Smurf, huh? Okay. All right. Mirror Morph is fun, but I couldn't imagine playing in the kind of tournament. It's very mentally taxing. It really is. If this was more like a video game and there was like, you know, some sort of UI that kept track of what you did, it'd be so much easier to play that, but there isn't, so it's hard. Stop it. Stay hydrated. You gotta be able to track through tomorrow. Yeah, I need actually, my throat hasn't been the best, so I need to kind of slow down a bit, I think. I love Mirror Morph, but it's a lesser HP threat for sure. And if people are ready to fight the worst HP, Mirror Morph is basically useless. The thing is, like, that Mirror Morph deck a lot of times can go more like Jinja and a bit more Glacier, but that's the thing, right? Like, there's a question about expression, and then there's a question about what's good. I feel like it's really hard to find a reason to not play Asa, besides the fact that more people might be teched against it. Jester, hey, couldn't get motivation enough to play, but I'm very excited to watch this weekend. Yo, tune in. Twitch.tv/Project Nisei. I can't say that enough. Again, it's not going to be on this channel. We're not going to pre-stream. We're live tomorrow at around 2 Eastern. So yeah, that number got to go up there. I'm pointing at my physical screen so you can't see it. But okay, we're going to see a lot of this. And this is really fun to watch to some extent, but they are Jinteki decks that score agendas behind ice. Classic Netrunner. Now, I don't think we're going to see a lot of like hardcore Glacier Jinteki stuff, kind of similar to the GameNet decks that no longer exist. I don't even know what sort of NBN we're going to see. Maybe CTM, maybe... what's that one? Acme? I think that's probably it. I don't know. But these lists are very fascinating because there's some very strong ideas and choices that you have to make. Really interesting choices you have to make. Firstly, which ID to play. So I think there's two big contenders for this sort of like fast, I don't want to call it Glacier, but like rush ice. What's a good name for this, y'all? The Asa Tech is why so many people have swung Red Glacier. Yeah, right? Like I think this is the response to it, where your missed bones don't go as far. Yeah, the thing is, like, I want to call it fast Glacier, but it's not Glacier, right? Like, you're maybe going to see 3 ice on a server, that's it. But there's a bunch of choices to make here with these sort of decks. You have 2 big IDs. You have Palana Foods. Palana Foods, it's money. And money is so important in this game. Just to get clickless econ, it means that you can do your thing faster. If you ever find yourself spending a turn clicking for credits, which the heck I do, that's bad. And you can ignore those turns and just start jamming on your board state, which is really great. There's a really good reason to play Palana. On top of that, Pad Tap has rotated, and Pad Tap was really, really strong against Palana. A lot of Palana decks were trying to go a bit faster, and having the fact that Pad Tap is easy to fire on the runner's turn, and you have to trash it for 3 really kind of shat the bed a bit. So now you can go a lot faster. This seems really good. The other option is Ag Infusion, which has 17 influence. That's cute. Doesn't have an economic ability in this, not in the obvious sense. But most importantly, it has like a built-in pseudo border control, but you have to do some work to get there. I'm very interested to see which is going to be played more often. I feel like Ag Infusion is a bit more mentally taxing to play. Palana, you literally don't have to do anything. It does it automatically for you. I think Ag Infusion is probably more interesting. It's also stronger against anything that pressures particular runs, right? So the idea with Ag Infusion, there's 2 things. Firstly, you want to get a big piece of ice rezzed on the outermost of a server. It's important to know, there's a lot of words on here, that when you get bounced to another server, you don't approach the server, you encounter that ice on the server, which means that if it's not rezzed, you can't res it. You have no window. So one of the best things you can do is res an Anansi or some big old ice on the outermost of a server, and then anytime the runner runs, you throw them by trashing an unresed ice into the Anansi. And when I say Ag Infusion isn't strictly an economic ability, sometimes it is, just because maybe you have an Anansi res in R&D, and now running HQ is akin in some ways to running an Anansi, even though you don't have to res a second Anansi, because you can throw them into it. And that's actually quite valuable. There's a lot of turns where it's like, okay, I have to run the remote, so I have to go through a piece of ice, then I get thrown onto a Nancy, then I have to run the remote again. And that additional like a Nancy tax is what makes this good. End of the day though, it's kind of like border control, right? Confusion plus divert power. Value. Replanting also is a card. I don't even know exactly what it does. Frank is saying Saraswati. I don't think Saraswati is anywhere near in the leagues of these 2 identities, but you're right in theory. Okay. So there's a lot of choices to make. Do you want more, less, a bit less influence, but a lot more money, or do you want a stronger ability to argue in terms of like having control over the board? Having control of the board is also a really big thing, right? Ag Infusion, say you do a diversion of funds, right? Ag Infusion can just say fuck off. You're not running archives, diversion of funds, diverted. Same for any other power run. Like Boomerang actually can be hard to get value of. They Boomerang and Ice, you throw onto another remote where they haven't end the run, Boomerang doesn't get recycled. Stargate, stuff like that. Anything that has like a solid run plan, Ag Infusion can goof with. And that's actually kind of cool for surviving the early game if there's like, I don't know, legwork threats or diversion or something like that. Okay. Now, Agenda Suite is also a very interesting choice because there's a couple ways that you're going to see people go. Firstly, the big question is to Obokata or not to Obokata. 3-point agenda. Defensive. You never almost want to score this unless it's your winning agenda. And the big reason why is because it doesn't do anything for you. All these other agendas that you're seeing basically give you advantage and keep you closer to winning besides the point thing, right? Like Cyberdeck Sandbox, it's good. It makes your other purge cards better. I'm thinking of, we're going to see a lot more corporate sales team, which isn't in any of these lists. That's really good. You score it, you get 10 credits. Nisei Mark II, very strong agenda. It gives Palana an Ag Infusion like ability, and that's very, very valuable because having that's just like one of the strongest agendas in the game when you're scoring behind Ice. Cyberdeck Sandbox also really good. Obokata Protocol, defensive. Now, if the runner steals an Obokata, they only have to steal 3 agendas to win the game. But some other people are playing different lists, and I can't find an actual list that says it, but some people are running this similar list, but instead of Obokata, imagine there was a Global Food Initiative there. Now, Global Food Initiative isn't directly defensive, right? You can always steal the Global Food Initiative, but now you need 4 agendas to win. And I think that's a very interesting choice, and I don't have a really strong idea of which one is better. Whether it's better to be running the defensive Obokatas, which sometimes are kind of okay for the runner if they're running like, I don't know, you can always imp it if you don't want to run it now, but like iPad Horse, stuff like that. Or having the Global Food Initiative and then requiring the runner to steal almost half of the agendas in your deck. I think that's an interesting decision. We're going to see both people play different. Now, when it comes to the 2-point agendas, there's also some choices here. I think we're going to see a lot of Cyberdeck Sandbox. The amount that we're going to see this makes Viruses worse, makes Amakua worse. We're also running cards like Macrophage and Cyberdeck's Fire Suite to get more value from that. But then there's some interesting choices. Nisei Mark II is really strong. But I think we're going to see some Ag Infusion lists that are not even running any. Maybe not, maybe one, maybe none. Because they might think it's overkill because they can run something else. For instance, Cyberdeck Sandbox, and I think the other one we're going to see is Corporate Sales Team. It's another card that just got way better because there's no more pad tap. The idea is a Corporate Sales Team, it's 10 credits. And that's so good. You score this early, you have 10 more credits, you can jam your next agenda, you're good to go. And I think we might actually see a list that are eschewing one or the other, or maybe even running some combination of corporate sales teams, Cyberdeck Sandboxes, and Nisei Mark IIs. I feel like the Niseis are much more important in Palana that doesn't have a sort of boop ability. Maybe in Ag Infusion you can get away with just playing more money agendas because you don't have, you know, the money from Palana. Maybe there's going to be some combination in between, but I think there's some interesting choices. Whether you play Obokata or food is really, really cool. Yeah, Justin says Data Loop plus Obo is equivalent to money. That's also the thing was like, if you're playing an Obo deck, it's very important to know that some of your other ice can support it, right? Like that's the cool thing about Obokata protocols. At the end of the day, someone can always run through Anansi, but running through Anansi and stealing an Obokata is different. I also think Obokata protocol is really cool in a deck that runs Snare. And Snare is a bit harder to play in Ag Infusion where the money may be a bit tighter. Maybe that's a better spot for Palana. Palana also Snare is nice because then they draw cards and you get credits. But the idea is that maybe you see this so many times. We saw this so many times in Continentals. A runner would run HQ to kind of poke, maybe legwork, and they'd hit a snare. And then the next turn they start with one card, and the corp says, "Okay, I guess I'll jam an Obokata protocol." And it's really hard for them to do everything they need to get into the remote server and have 4 cards in hand. So that's worth noting. Maybe you have ice that like hurts your hand size, maybe hurts the cards in hand, Engram Flush, stuff like that's always really good. Maybe Obokata's better. At the end of the day, food, you never want to score it early. I don't know whether we're going to see turntable, but that's also really good. The big powerhouse card of this deck is Lacosta Grid. It's so good. It's so good. Remote server only. One of the biggest strengths of playing an online tournament, Worlds 2020, is that you can't put 2 Lacostas in the same server. JNet won't allow you, which means that your chance of being the world champion is a lot higher. That's, oh, that was mean. This card's so good. It's so good. Like, look, you get one advancement token. It's firstly a card you put in a remote server, so they have to kind of think, do I need to run it? Its existence means that any unadvanced card is a threat of an agenda. That's such a big deal. On top of that, like, it gives you an advancement for 3. Corp runner has a tragedy for 4. For 3, you get an advancement token in turn. That's a deal. An advancement token is about worth 2 credits. So you're paying 3. And you get a clickless lead. Like, shit's good. And then it works so well with other things. Biovault, a super strong card. It gives you that end to run. It's on any server. It doesn't have to be this server. Oh, my voice is really falling apart. This is bad. It's a really big deal. I think you're going to see 3 Biovaults in any of these decks that you see that are running Lacosta. Lacosta is so strong. I don't think anything else is that much worth talking about. This deck ran all the gold farmers, and they're gonna have to figure out another way to spend influence. I think there's a lot of really cool options. The barrier slot is actually like pretty weak in these decks. If they're not running border control, and I think you might see more border controls in Palana, just because again they don't have the Infusion ability. Oh, this one did run data loop. That makes sense with Obokata. Okay, that's cool. But yeah, you're gonna try to figure out how to do that barrier thing. I think you might even see people playing vanilla. Code gates. Sometimes you have to worry about DNA trackers. Sometimes it's too expensive. You might expect macrophages in the decks that run Sandbox. I don't like macrophage. I like it a lot more in kind of Ag Infusion where unresed ice has value. And then you gotta worry about the Nancy, and that's, I think, really all that defines this deck. This deck can rush. We played last week against Eric, Whiteblades, and they like fast tracked for agendas. It was like, oh, I think I have a window, fast track jam agenda. Like, that's so good. It's so good because you have windows. Oh, there's a Biovault. Oh, there's 2 ice and a border control. Fucking fast track. Let's go. And I think these decks need to go really fast. I have been told that these sort of decks have a hard matchup against Leela. I don't know why. Why is that, chat? I don't have a strong answer to this. Do they? Mushin advances. I don't think you'll see any vanilla. It's just too weak to Amakua. The thing is, like, Amakua is... I don't know about that, right? Like, I don't think Amakua is particularly good right now. It's really good against the Asa lists to get, like, you know, a breaker rolling while you're checking stuff. But so many of these decks are running Cyberdeck Sandbox or running Macrophage and a 3 IP block. Like, I think Amakua isn't that good, let alone, like, you're not seeing that many 419s that are going to rely on it. So I think it's worth it. And, like, these decks somewhat ice up everything. Ag Infusion probably ices up a bit more. I think you need to go a bit faster with Palana, maybe. But I don't know if you're that scared about Amakua anymore. And just having something that forces them to get a Fracture might be okay. We'll see. I don't know. Jester says very hard to APOC Ag. That's a really, really, really big deal. It's very hard to APOC Ag. And APOC's going to be around. I was on food and all good tempo 4-2s. It seemed very good. Yeah, I think that seems all right. I think just the tempo 4-2s, maybe you don't even need Nisei and food, and that's good enough. CST is good. Rabbi, yeah, I think we're going to see a lot of CST too. Yeah, CST is really, really, really strong. Especially for Ag Infusion that kind of wants the money. Not that you'd be upset in Palana. Ken just says, I'm going to be much nicer to start seeing corporate sales team instead of always SSL. Yeah, at least they have to work for it. Now Shaper APOC. I think we're going to see Shaper APOC as well for sure. I think you're going to see a lot of APOC. This is the Jinteki that I imagine we're going to see when it comes to net damage Jinteki. I don't know. It exists. It's easy to tech against, but people won't be. Like, put in a single Caldera and then they sweat, but I don't think people will be. Maybe you'll see Shapers with Deus Ex. I doubt it. You get an APOC, you get an APOC. I really doubt that you will. But I don't have too much to say about Trap Jinteki. I really don't. Don't get punitive. Sting is a really good card. For those decks, maybe run Centrals early and Stargate them to death. That's it. Don't Mwanza me. Okay. I think those are the biggest, the most represented things we're going to see in terms of the corp side. I think we're going to see Sportsmetal, we're going to see Asa, we're going to see Ag Infusion, we're going to see Palana. We're going to see Wayland stuff. I don't think any of the Wayland stuff is going to be that interesting compared to like the Wayland stuff we've seen before. Like you're going to see, you know, we'll just open up Longy's list, even though I don't think this is 2009 meta. Watch out for Complete Image, I guess. Oh yeah, you're right. Complete Image is a thing, and that actually is very interesting to play against. But if people are playing Imp, it gets a bit easier. But yeah, Complete Image decks actually, it's a really long conversation to how to play around them. Yeah, it's the 3-point break point on agendas matters for Complete Image. Let's just open that, I guess. So Complete Image, again, I don't know how much you're gonna have to play around this. Having 3 agenda points is really scary. You want to keep cards up in hand. You want to make sure the cards in your hand have different names. If you've run, they can hit you with Neural, and they also can hit you with Salem's Hospitality, and then you can suddenly die. Having any way to draw in the middle of your turn is really important. Having I've Had Worse in your hand helps, but not too much because they have Salem's Hospitality usually. It's tricky. Not stealing agendas helps. Do you think someone will try an Iceless deck? Yeah, I have no doubt someone will try an Iceless deck. I feel like you can try Iceless decks. Sportsmetal probably has the best chance. I just think with so much like Stargate and Imp and stuff, Iceless decks don't seem amazing. Motion Advance is bog standard Argus probably good enough to top 16? Honestly, I don't know. I don't think so. The bog standard Argus decks I think are kind of weak to Leela. They're not like bog standard Argus decks to me always felt like they never do that well in a cut, because I think in the cut people play like it's something again that kind of like it really hurts people who play poorly against it. But when you see like 2 evenly matched players, I don't know how favored the Argus deck is. It doesn't seem to do anything that's too unfair. If Krebs says I don't see Argus are often making day 2. Yeah, I'd be surprised if they would. Okay, but we'll look at this list, right? So this is Longy's list. This is no longer legal. This is the big change, right? Like this deck ran CityWorks Project, which I think is a really, really strong agenda, as long as it's not in centrals. Hostile Takeover is really good. And then SSL endorsement doesn't exist. This suite has to probably change to SDS drone deployment, which is stronger against criminal than anybody else. Anarch don't care. Shaper don't care. I feel like if anything's going to be really strong against out of Wayland, it actually is probably going to be Arc Lockdown. I think Arc Lockdown is going to be a total surprise in any faction that plays it. And it can actually goof people up. You're going to see a lot of paperclip. Otherwise, it's just kind of hard-hitting news. Hard-hitting news actually seems okay because not a lot of people are going to be playing Misdirection. I don't think there's going to be a lot of Shapers. So as long as you can get your money up, which is kind of hard to outmoney some criminals sometimes. But otherwise, this sort of idea with punitive hard-hitting news, boom, not even high-profile target in this. It can work. The thing is, like with outfit decks, right? Like it's kind of obvious what your game plan is in a lot of ways. The Ice Suite's good though. Goodbye S's endorsement, Sweet Prince. Yeah, I know. I don't think Argus decks have changed in years, right? Has there like what's been the latest breakout in Argus? Ooh, Osclate. First it packs you, nice. Okay. No self-growth program. So this is an old deck, but I think everything here is probably legal. This list was actually considered to play no self-growth here because at the time, if I'm not mistaken, Liza was like a really big thing. It was like winning every Nats around. But the idea with this is Audacity is a fast advance. You want to jam behind ice. A lot of this ice you can probably boomerang through to some extent. And hard-hitting news, economic warfare is a real threat. I don't know. It just... You need to jam really aggressively, and then Leela kind of pulls you apart, right? Like if they jam aggressively and you score out, then your HQ is open, you get diverted, embezzle Stargate. Like it can be pretty difficult. For what's worth, like Data Raven seems like a really strong card in some ways. I don't know whether people are teching in Hunting Grounds because it's not very good in the Asa matchup. But Data Raven into like CTM, Data Raven, Quantum Kitty, all that stuff seems really good without Film Critic, but people are playing, in theory, Imp. So I don't know, but this card seems nice. Our Leela decks on average all playing Citadel Sanctuary. That's also like a really big deal when it comes to these decks. It's like just playing a single Citadel Sanctuary helps so much, even if Leela doesn't have Link. I don't know how popular this card is outside of like 419s or maybe Hoshiko's. I don't know, but yeah, it's hard. My biggest thing is like there's so few decks where like the Argus security this matters, right? Like take 1 tag or suffer 2 meat damage. Suffering 2 meat damage honestly doesn't matter a lot. It really doesn't. Against some Anarchs, it helps them with I've Had Worse or Breakers. Against Criminals, it can be annoying. And Shapers, it doesn't matter too much. And it's not like a lot of these decks are running Punitive Counter-Strike where the amount of cards in hand matters so much, right? Like we're not doing Sea Source into Scorched Earth where having 3 cards in hand would matter. So a lot of times you can just take the damage. Yeah, these aren't running Punitive, so I don't entirely get it. I think Prysac is probably one of the stronger cards in the deck. I think Prysac is just a really good card. You can't imp anything relevant after the Data Raven, right? I mean, QPM fires first and so does Prysac. You can't imp Prysac, but you can imp a QPM. A lot of people run Citadel Sanctuary. Yeah, I think they do. Yeah, Citadel and Hunting Grounds seem to have fallen out of favor. I wouldn't be surprised if Citadel is a bit more relevant than Hunting Grounds, but I think Hunting Grounds isn't that popular. The runner is tagged in quantum axis. You can score it. No, I think you can imp this, right? I'm pretty sure you can. I don't know the ruling. But you definitely can't imp a price deck or a snare. You can't imp a trap. But you can imp this. Why? Am I wrong? Maybe I am wrong. How does it work? We should know this before we have to talk about it tomorrow. Place 2 virus counters on imp when installed. Once per turn, you may remove one host to trash a card you access at no cost. Can you imp quantum predictive model Netrunner? You can BAM a trap though. Yeah, by any means you can. Apparently not. Oh, because imp is not on axis. Imp is a card you are accessing. Okay, so you can't imp this. That's good. Okay. So if I understand this correctly, right? So imp says once per turn, remove one host to counter card you access at no cost. So you have to be accessing it. But quantum predictive model says when you access this, that will happen before you're accessing. Okay. And you add it to your score area. Now, Film Critic was different whenever you access an agenda. So that's not while you're accessing. It's like at the step where you begin to access it. Great. Now, by any means is different, right? Because it has the same text whenever you access a card. So that's not when you're accessing. It's when you're about to access it. That sounds awful, but I hope that's slightly intuitive. Okay, so you can't imp that. It's good. That's good. I don't know how good quantum predictive model is though. I saw some people playing Fly on the Wall today. That was fun. It's a scary card. Okay, so that's that. Argus Security. I feel like the outfit's a bit meaner just because it can go a bit faster and its ice is a bit more punishing. And they have some really good agendas. Like it's just very, very, very hard. Even if you have I've had worse sometimes to interact with a heavily dedicated CityWorks project into Punitive. Andre, did I understand you'll be describing games or are you playing? I'm commentating. It's tomorrow, a bit on Saturday and Sunday. Edge versus Level Triggered. What is that a reference to? Is that a Magic thing? By the way, I'm going to say that I played 40 hours of Among Us in the past 2 weeks and 0 hours in Netrunner. Ooh, Terrence. Oh, the corpse are looking sus, huh? How good is Among Us? I'm like tired of seeing content of that on YouTube. I just don't like games where the major thing I have to do is lie to my friends. Stresses me the fuck out. I don't get joy of like looking at someone and lying to them and like tricking them. It feels weird. All right, I think that's going to be all the corpse. I think we're going to see purple CTM over anything, maybe some Acme, stuff like that. I feel like Acme is like a worse Asa. I think Acme needs to go horizontal. Glacier Acme doesn't seem good. This but with Hades. Oh man, Hades is so good. It was like one of my game of the year last year and it just came out this year and I'm waiting for Switch cross save so that I don't have to start it again. I probably should just start it again. Game's good. He's just playing a game where primary mechanic is installing a snare and telling runners an agenda, but that's different. That's so different. I don't have to argue with anybody. The fact that I have to like yell over my friend to be like, no, it's not true. Like this person did it. Like, and then I actually have to raise my voice to be heard. It's different than bluffing. But you're right. Acme fully op. Yeah, yo, Julian, what up? Okay, so the thing with Acme is its ability, I think, is a lot of people play like ice and Acme, like IP block pachinko. It's good ice, but right then the positionality of it becomes very awkward. So I think one of the best things you can do with Acme is actually go horizontal, just because every ice becomes relevant, and then you can do the fully op thing and then figure out whatever your win condition is. I feel like it's probably not good because you're just doing the Asa thing, but spending a lot more influence and having less like win conditions, because the Asa deck is like 3 or 4 built-in win conditions. This you'd be struggling. You might have to do something cute with like tags or I don't know. But I feel like going horizontal with Acme, you get more value than not. Also, Data Ward is just like a hell of an ice. It's like always worth looking into Acme when Data Ward exists. This thing's so good. This doesn't rotate for a while. Is there no lying in King's Lemma? No, there's obfuscation. Like you have private interests. But it also felt different because like it was more role-playing-ish. Right? Like I'm playing a warring faction, like a warring family. So like I'm interested that we win the war and I'm pretty upfront about it. I don't have to be like, I don't know. It's a bit different, I think. It's not that much lying directly. Okay. So, what's on the runner side? Well, what's a Leela deck list look like modernly? I think people are definitely gonna have to tune their decks. They're not gonna just play good stuff. So you don't have Game of Thrones intrigue yet then? No. No. At that point, there's more bargaining than lying. It'll be like, hey, if you vote my way, I'll give you this much power or gold or whatever. It's less so like chummy family stuff, if that makes sense. Okay, Leela. Very, very powerful. It's a very powerful ability. And I think we're going to see, I don't know how big the changes we're going to see in this. Obviously, you can't play pad tap. I think we started seeing like more Caddy Jones is kind of just sneaking into Leela decks just so they could play a bit better against some of those slower decks. It's probably still worth playing. I don't know. I think you'd be really in a bad spot if you don't have that. I think Amaku is probably still worth playing in Leela just because Asa is going to go horizontal and this is pretty nice. And that deck doesn't have any built-in punishment besides smacking it into whatever that barrier is called. And Taproom is good. Taproom's nice. Taproom's good. I think cards are really good. Inside Job, Boomerang, that stuff is really good against Asa. Anything that goes horizontal, I think that's quite nice. I honestly don't like Diesel. I've seen more people play I've Had Worse instead of Diesel if they're going to play this in faction, and I think that's interesting. I kind of like I've Had Worse a bit better. It just helps so much with the card draw when there's damage situations, which will be relevant in the meta. What else is good? Onacom lists. I don't know. I feel like Onacom's a bit slow. I kind of like Paragon. Maybe Turntable's good. I feel like Turntable is really good if there's a lot of global food initiative, but the problem is there's not that many decks that are going to be like rushing out Obacatas. They'll score their value 2-pointers before pushing their 3-pointers. Food is nice though. Maker's Eye is great in Leela, in my experience. Yeah, Maker's Eye is fine. It's really fine. I think you'd obviously be better off if you had the MU and influence for a Stargate, but this is fine. Turning Wheel's fine too. So many runners these days have so little multi-access. Could you imagine if the meta of Medium existed? The problem with like Medium, as soon as it exists, it's like R&D is your death point. It's more important to defend that than anything else. Very little red wedding type stuff. More like conversations. The bald guy with people. He's my favorite character. Is the bald guy. I think we're gonna see 3 missed bones. I don't know whether you can play like Hernando Cortez. Any of that stuff matters too much. I feel like against some of like the Palana stuff that's really good, or Ag Infusion is like maybe fisking a bit and like playing a Cortez. Maybe we'll see Blackfile. That's really cool. I think Tapeworm is really good because a lot of those decks don't want to spend a whole turn purging this shit, even though like, you know, Macrophage stuff like that's good against this. They might just hold on and wait until they score a Cyberdeck sandbox and then go from there. Excuse me. I don't know how many other big changes you're going to see in this list. I feel like Sneak Door Beta is always somewhat relevant, but it's kind of hard. I don't know whether you need On the Lam in the matchup. I don't know how much hard-hitting news there's going to be. Maybe a Citadel Sanctuary is more flexible than this. This is a very flexible card for what it's worth. I don't know. This deck probably seems fine. Losing the pad tap is a bit of a bummer, but 3 missed bones is probably a thing, huh? Is there anything about R&D also true of Stargate? Well, not exactly, because like the thing with Medium is that Medium could roll, right? Like you run Medium, you see a card, you run next click, you see 2, you steal 1, run next click, you see 4 new cards, right? Like it spirals, and then you're basically like ice up R&D or purge. The thing with Stargate is like you could, it's definitely very strong, but it's not like you're gonna lose in 2 turns, where like an unchecked Medium you lose very, very quickly. I think Crim decks that use Diesel should replace with I've Had Worse. Yeah, Justin, I totally agree. I think I've Had Worse seems nicer. You can eat the 1 credit. Maker's Eye is different than Stargate and Leela. It gives you a T1 bounce because no one ices R&D in tournament against Crim. The thing is, like, I don't know if you want to do that. Like, that's such a big thing about Leela is, like, Leela is really strong at pivoting board states really heavily. And the early game is one of the worst examples, right? Like, they ice up HQ so they don't get diversion, and then you run R&D. And you run R&D, you steal Agenda, HQ ices bounce, you go diversion of funds. They're down 2 to 3 points. They've been diverted. Fuck me. They still have to play the whole tournament. Now, the thing about using Maker's Eye as a turn 1 bounce, I don't know how good that is. Just because, like, in the early game, you kind of want to establish your economy a bit. Like, I think you're way better dirty laundering R&D turn 1 than Maker's Eyeing. Just because you get an access, sure, you maybe get a bounce, you get some read on their deck, and you get money, and then you could, like, set up with a class act or whatever. This deck has 3 class act, which is interesting. I think the bigger part about Maker's Eye, why it's in this list, is more about for the mid game, right? Where they go install advance in a remote server. and they'd be like, oh, I'm going to score my SSL endorsement at the time, and then you say, fuck it, I'm going to Maker's Eye R&D, because then you have a bigger chance of bouncing when it matters. I wouldn't spend 2 credits just to smash into an open R&D to get a turn 1 bounce. I really wouldn't. But like when there is something that's like, I need to bounce this or they win, fucking bounce, let's go. I feel like also this deck, like Criminal Paul-Op is really good right now, and I think that helps a lot. Oh, my voice. Oh, this is bad. Stargate spirals by trashing the ice, though? Yeah, you're right. Stargate can spiral by trashing ice, where you don't have ice to draw into, but you also know what your next card is. So, like, sometimes the best thing you do at that point is, like, not draw. Because if you draw, you know what you're not drawing into. You're kind of right. There is a thing there. But, like, installing Stargate turn 1 and smashing an uniced R&D is a problem. Like, that's not going to be good for your economy. I think medium, though, will close the game way faster. Like, Stargate just literally can't close the game as fast as medium. Why Diesel not have had worse? Yeah, well, that's been brought up. I kind of like I've had worse a bit better here. The only reason is Diesel is cheaper. Spiral takes a lot longer with Stargate than does a medium. Yeah. The thing is, like, if the medium has 5 tokens on it and it's the beginning of your turn, if you don't purge, you lose the game. No questions asked. Stargate would be like, okay, maybe they Stargate and they don't find something. Then you have like another 2 turns maybe before it's a problem. Anarch decks. Did we see Leela with an Apocalypse yet? Or we mostly been seeing 419 with Apocalypse, right? I think Cody did that. I think Apocalypse is such a big deal. Like, Apocalypse is good against everything, obviously, but Apocalypse is so good against Asa that like goes horizontal and invests heavily on horizontal. Like, Apocalypsing an Asa that has 9 cards in hand and you trash your Cybernetics court and they're like, oh, I don't know what to do right now, and I've installed 5 ice already out of my like 9 in the deck. Like, it's so good. It's so good. So I think we're gonna see a lot of that. Whether that means we're going to see more Crisium, whether that means we're going to see more Biovault. We know we are going to see Biovault. Whether we're going to see more Crisium maybe in the sort of decks, I don't know. It's just like really hard, besides MCA austerity policy, for those HB decks to stop themselves from being apocalypsed. So do watch out for that. All Asa decks should be running at least 2 Crisium grids. I don't think so, Justin. I don't think they will. It's cute though, because like you can install it and Ice Essential in the same click, but it's I don't know. It seems like such a diversion from how they're going to win that it might not be worth it. Like, I feel like just ensuring MC austerity policies are on the board every turn is a bit more valuable. Criminals really struggle if they're apocalypsing, and I don't know if Criminal Apocalypse is going to be as common as Anarch Apocalypse. They really struggle to generate an additional clicks to Apocalypse. Shaper doesn't have a problem. Like, Shaper doesn't give a fuck about Crisium. Shaper can like get enough clicks with Hyperdriver or even Through the Ashes or whatever that card is called. Criminal has to play like easy early bird. They're not going to do that. And Anarch are probably not going to play that card that gives them brain damage to get 2 clicks. And if everyone's playing Imp too, like, is Crisium even that good? Yeah, it's probably fine. I don't know. I think an Asa Crisium won't do it. I think your best chase is like getting a tour guide on Centrals and hoping that's good enough for a while. Yeah, that's probably it. Just a Beth gives Shaper enough clicks. Oh yeah, right, Beth. Yeah, Beth's a card. You're gonna see this list. You're gonna see this list. I don't see why you wouldn't. This is Anarch. We haven't really talked about what Anarch brings to the table. I think you're gonna see some flexes. I think Imp is gonna be more common in Anarch. Just because Hoshiko's really good at checking stuff. Maybe having her able to trash things for free is good. There's some tech cards in here. You can't play Pat Tap. It's a 1-of, no big deal. You got that drip economy. Turntable, I honestly don't know how relevant it is in the meta. I think we are going to actually see more Titans probably than any of the other Waylands. We didn't talk about Titan, but I think Titan's going to be more prevalent than the other Waylands. And Turntable is really good for that matchup. So is having multiple Stargates. Having multiple of all your breakers also is like a really important thing in Anarch. Sometimes in Anarch, you just don't find your breaker and you lose the game. So just having a lot of breakers helps, some flexibility, 2 APOCs, and then just some good stuff. Honestly, Mining Accident is like seems really nice against Asa, and like Asa decks aren't running Hedge Fund. They don't have a way to burst up in credits turn 1. So an early Mining Accident, like that can be a really big deal when helping you dismantle the board from that part forward. That's actually kind of interesting. I don't know how good it is against some of the Jinteki stuff that you might see, but that's always an okay card, I guess. And then nothing else too flashy. Acel's Punch Up though, being unrestricted, is such a big deal for APOC decks across the board, right? Like Shaper decks that want to basically like flip over everything that they've trashed so they can get it back with Simul Chip. Anarchs can just trash their Heat Breakers, their Stargates, go from there. Like it's It's real good. It's really, really good. And we're gonna see a lot of decks like this. I don't think any of the other Hoshiko decks that we're gonna see are gonna be wildly different. Like, they're gonna be decks that are obviously not running APOC. How do you spend a lot of influence in a Hoshiko deck? What's a Hoshiko deck look like? Shikoshiro. All right, this is Kevin Thames' list. Bravado. Yeah, people do a lot of Bravado. I honestly don't know if Bravado's worth the influence. But yeah, Bravado's a thing. Ingolo. Yeah, it's cool. Rizeki. Yeah, that's a good card. Imp. Yeah. So we've actually played against this and played this one a fair bit. This is Kevin Thames' list. The deck tail takes me back. So this one I'm not convinced on. There's like this engine here of Cyber Trooper Talud to install your breakers so they can pawn your breakers and they come at better strength. At the end of the day, like, Cyber Trooper Talud is really cute for the link as well, but I don't know how well this performs compared to an Ice Carver or even a Data Sucker, which I don't think we're gonna see a lot of Data Sucker. But yeah, this is probably a bit like there's a lot of setup involved when it comes to what's it called? When it comes to just going fast if you have to deal with the Asa deck. I do like the Ace Up's Pawn Shop deck though, even if you're not like too reliant on it. It's nice, I guess. Actually, maybe no, it's probably not worth it. But like having imps is really nice. They can pawn them, but like I think you just want more imps. Everything else here is good. I don't know whether you need Hunting Ground. Dream Net's actually a really strong card, especially if you're being forced horizontal. It's just like so much click compression in this thing, especially if you can career fair it out. Like it's wild. You get a card and a credit every other turn, a card a turn, stuff like that. It's so good. And labor rates, we're gonna see more of that. Just gonna play the same stim hacks over and over again. And yeah, okay, so Sid did all the bravados. Bravado's a really good card, that's for sure. It gives you money while the corp loses money, usually, if you want to face check or when you break stuff. It's definitely a good econ card. It's also like very efficient on clicks, right? Like liberated accounts, not in this deck. And it gives you a lot of money, but it's very slow to do, like 6 backwards, and then it takes you 3 clicks to get even just past where you were. And that's the kind of thing, like this does everything at once. Like it gives you good money, it lets you run at the same time, get a genuine access, and that's pretty valuable. Virtual On is an old Sega game. Oh, that's what this is, huh? Cool. So yeah, that's a really big deal, but like I don't know, it's so wild to me that it's just like I don't know, it feels similarly, and not by any means if it has to be compared in terms of power level, but it just kind of feels like Temujin. It's just like, oh, it's an Anarch deck. Oh, and I just put some money in it from Criminal. Like that's good enough. So no tricks here. And I think 2 Amakuas might be good enough. I'm just worried about how much sandbox you're gonna hit. It might be like very like swingy. It'd be like, oh, I played Amakua and I ran into like 4 Cyberdeck sandbox Jintekis in a row, as opposed to like I played only Asas. So that might actually be an issue for you. So not a lot of people play Gachapon. Interesting. DreamNet means Johnny Mass will never see play again. Rip Johnny, you're screaming over no more. You say that, but actually I think you will. There are reasons why to play Johnny Masanori. Not that Masanori will be around for much longer, if I'm not mistaken. But Masanori is relevant for the tag. And also you can play both. I think there's a deck recently published that had Masanori that I was actually pretty interested by. But the fact that Masanori gives you a tag actually helps a fair bit when it comes to tag me decks. And tag me decks could be relevant. Like I think the problem with tag me decks, and I like tag me decks, is that they were very bad in metas that had a lot of meat damage and or like psychographics and stuff like that. And this meta doesn't have a lot of them, right? Like I don't think you're gonna see a psychographics all day for most cases. And I don't know how much Argus there's gonna be. Maybe there's outfit. Those matchups are a bit trickier, but I don't think they're gonna be as represented as maybe like months ago where the meta was largely Wayland. And these sort of lists that are running like Counter Surveillance, DreamNet, and John Masanori, like they like it. The idea is to get a lot of tags in Counter Surveillance. Now again, Counter Surveillance is pretty hard to do against Ag Infusion. It's fucking impossible. You have to do 2 in the same turn, and border control and stuff like that. It hurts. But I don't know. This is probably too slow against Asa, but it's pretty neat. It's probably too slow. It's definitely too slow, right? These are fun though. They are really fun. This is a different one. Oh wow. Thunderburbs are in Go. Excuse me, I never watched the Thunderbirds. I played the board game once. I don't like what they look like. They're frightening. They're frightening little dolls. Yeah, okay, 419. Cool. First responders. It's an interesting list. This looks like way more than 45 cards, but that's just because they're all one-ofs. That's largely my read. Mini factions do exist. I think we're going to see Adam. I think you're going to see some Sunny. I don't feel like Sunny has a really good matchup against any of the Asa stuff. But again, that's like really important. It's not everyone picks a deck based off the meta. A lot of people just pick, oh, Geist, fucking shit. Yeah, that's huge. Excuse me, I'm from North America. We don't know what Geist is. Geist is a huge question mark because Geist did really, really well. Mostly classically, it's European players. We're looking at New World Order that is playing Geist, and Geist is a really strong ability. But Geist comes with a couple of concerns. He's difficult to pilot, takes a lot of brain power, and many rounds in that can be very difficult. But we've seen some very strong Geist decks as of recent. Also, I didn't talk about Freedom. Freedom abstractly looks really good against Asa, but we're probably not going to see a lot of it. I like watching Freedom games. Yeah. This is a New World Order Geist, and then Geist did really well at German Nats. I'm being attacked by a little cat. Little cat, I can't. Hold on. Come say hi. Come say hi. Oh, okay. Didn't want to say hi. So these guys lists have some really interesting choices in them when it comes to card slots, and I'm interested to see how these change. I actually did a testing with this deck today, and playing against like a Palana or an Egg Infusion, and it felt good. It felt like it, like obviously I think this deck really highlights good piloting, which is really fun for spectators. It has a lot of interesting choices. Now the question is how to tech this against Asa, because I don't think in any of the matchup write-ups, I don't think anybody said that this deck was particularly well suited against Asa decks. Meow is correct, little cat. I don't think it's really well teched against Asa decks. Some of the choices that how this deck ended up here, cards like Clot, cards like Blackfile, I think were a big response to at the Asia Pacific Continentals just a week before. There was a lot of Titan Transnational. So these are slots I think this deck can really play with. I wouldn't be surprised if this is another sort of deck that can actually end up running 2 or 3 copies of Miss Bones. And maybe instead of Bravado, probably not, but like maybe instead of Gamble, they could run Dirty Laundry, stuff like that. Maybe that makes it a bit easier for them to check things early. I think there's a lot of interesting ways that you can tune this deck, but like the basis is like so flexible. Spy Camera is flexible. The Masterwork Prognostic Q-Loop combo with Tech Writer and all that Tech Trader stuff, it's always just good. And there's very few, like your early game is a bit spotty, but there are very few things after that where you're not interacting with ice in a way that puts you ahead, which is really good. But the question is where the tech slots go. Because like I think if you can't deal with like a 5 and 4 cost trash asset on turn 1 and turn 2, you might be in a bad spot. So maybe Miss Bones is just the solution. Grim says, who will be the #1 Sunny though? Pat or Captain Nice? Oh, fuck. I don't know Pat is playing Sunny. I really don't think he is. Maybe he is. I saw Pat testing something else today. But Captain Nice has classically been the top performing Sunny. So Pat has some work to do. I hope Nice is playing Sunny. That'd be cool. 1 second. Cat really doesn't want to be picked up, which is a shame because she's a very cute one. As they usually are. Okay, you can look at me with those big marble eyes, and I have to continue on. That's largely it. Is there anything we're missing? Like, is there anything anybody thinks will stand out? Because I think this is a meta that people have pretty good understanding. They think they have a pretty good understanding of what it's going to look like, right? In terms of like, we understand what's good, and the meta changes were, you know, not the biggest. I think the fact that it changes agenda suites does stop things from being relevant. Stop scratching my chair. Can't do that. Sorry, I hit the microphone. She really doesn't want to be picked up. I don't know. We just look at all the IDs. Type. What are we doing? Identity. View as full cards. Sort by release date. Search. I would be so stoked if there's a good Earth Station deck. I'd be really stoked. But I don't know if any of this else is going to stand out. And it gets out Gabe Leela, Chaos Theory, Riel, PE, RP, NBN. Yeah, I really don't know. I think out of Shaper, we're going to see more Haley than anything else. I don't know if Smoke looks really nice right now. Maybe Lat. I know a lot more people like Lat than I do. We're gonna see Ag Infusion. Alice. I don't know. Alice is like people play Alice for an APOC list. Are we gonna jam any games? Yeah, I think we are. I think we have some time to jam games. I feel like Alice is an APOC list. It's probably just worse than Hoshiko. I don't know whether the archives pressure does too much. It's nice though. Asa lists can't really ice archives. That ability is dead against Asa. Oh, that's a very good point. With 9 cards in hand, you can't really do much. That's really true. What a bummer. 419 SSO. Let's go SSO. Nat, Liza, Akiko, Sportsmetal. Let's see Sportsmetal. Okay, those are most of the modern identities. Huh. All right. I need to stop talking for a bit because I feel my throat. I'm trying to think whether I own honey at this point in my life. What do we want to play? What do we want to play? Do I have any like worlds lists built in here? Does anybody want to test their deck? I'm down to test your deck. Like if you want to play against me, I will play. We could just play Asa. It's good, huh? This also looks fine. What a weird agenda suite. I think we would just play one more food and one fewer agenda. Yeah, probably. Jarda face hydrate yourself. 60 nice. This feels like a bit too little ice. Which one did you choose if you played? That's a good question. If I played tomorrow, I would play Palana. Yeah, I would play a Palana deck for sure. I feel like I don't have the mental fortitude to be able to competitively pull off Ag Infusion for too long of a time. And I feel like any ability that's just like good and I don't have to think about, like Palana or ETF, really does well for me in a tournament setting. So that's probably what I do. It's also pretty flexible. There's a lot of outs. Just take a Glacier underrated. Like you think hard Glacier or like mid Glacier? I changed the Agon quite a bit. Oh, how did it end up? That was my ANZ Worlds warm-up version. Oh, how did it go? Also, there was that tournament, right? That was like a new ANZ tournament that was going to be a pre-Worlds thing. How did that look like? Frank, what would you play if you had to play? What was it called? ANZ had something, right? AUNZ Worlds warm-up. There you go. Palana Leela from Chaos Juggler. It was fun, good. How do you play game? Going with 409 Sportsmetal if you have preference. Okay, cool. Yeah, Chenchling. If you want to host, I'll jump in. Jess won. Okay, cool. I've been told Jess will be doing some commentary tomorrow. PE, Val, Sir Loathing, Bing, Mike, Asa Group, Leela. Yeah, that's cool. Shout outs to that. PE. Yeah, I'd probably play a Palana deck. I think we can just take Rotom's list and go from there. They swept me last round to top Swiss. Shit. Now, what do we change here? 1 gold farmer. Okay, we can do this with minor changes. I honestly don't know. I feel like a lot of times I'd rather play CST than Sandbox. But then we have to cut the Macrophage and maybe the Cyberdex Fire Suite, which is probably fine. I think we actually already have this deck in here. Okay, so we obviously cannot play Gold Farmer. That gives us 3 influence to work with. We're lacking a barrier. We've lost the Gold Farmer. How do we see that Upayaga in GameNet? World's Prep, let's go. Something that costs around 3. Eli is like not amazing. Cyberdex Fire Suite. Oh god. What's cute in here? I like the triple Enigma for a bit. It's always good to have something you can jam behind. Eli's good in ag. Yeah, Eli seems okay, but we're not ag or Palana. After listening to you on Palana and Leela before the outfit. Why the one of Gold Farmer though? Raven, how's it going? It's an efficient card. And like this deck needs 3 border controls because it's not Ag Infusion, but Gold Farmer is banned. It was just an efficient card. IP Block has its own value because it's an anti-AI card. And Gold Farmer is just like it's a pretty good card. Up whenever. Okay, cool. Afshar is good. Yeah, Afshar's not bad. I like Afshar. That's good enough. We're not using all our influence. So we could like in theory play good enough. We don't have to think about it too hard. One FC3? Yeah, FC3. I think FC3 is good. I think FC3 is actually a really good slot there. FC3 might be even better in Ag Infusion, where the boop is more relevant, but FC3 is I think is one of the best 3 influence ice. Am I out of focus? I don't think so. Okay, opening hand against 419. Thanks, you too. I'm gonna mull that. So we want to let an IP block something early. The CVS is also cute. And we don't score this. Excuse me? Yeah, I think Rotom commented because we were playing this and we struggled with it on channel before. And the biggest problem we have is that we're actually trying to score out oboes. But you don't want to score out oboes. Don't score out oboes, my friends. Macrophage on R&D is a bit shit. That's for sure. Do we pay for credit for this? I think if they know this is a problem. I think that's a pretty bad ice until we score our thing because they have 1 link. I think we need the credit here. That might have been bad. Thoughts on FC2 includes is the same tax for Angola, less money. I'm not that worried about Angola in the modern matchup. Oh, it's a tag me deck. Or not tag me, but like a rogue trading deck. I don't think you have to play around Angola. Amina is a problem, and I think it's about the same for both. No, Amina is actually, I think, better against FC2. I feel like FC3 and FC2's tax is wildly different. That I'd almost always want to pay the extra 2 credits. JNet sounds are on. Ooh, thank you. Yeah, 419's likely play viruses for sure. Okay, so that's our server. We want something in front of this to get the Lacosta going. But again, we don't have any money. We've drawn nothing, and they haven't drawn yet. So we just got our first credit. My ear holes. How loud was that? Sounds like it's probably fucking loud. Yeah, so the numbers on FC2 aren't that good, are they? So same influence, less influence, 3 cost. So Angola's annoying, but they can always break 2 of these subroutines. The thing with Fairchild is like not a lot of people run early. Oh, they have a paperclip. Oh, Rashida. Oh, that's a Rashida. Go get it. Alpha can smoke. Smoke, really? Weird. Excuse me. It's that job? Gonna get the Angola. Let's talk about Angola, right? So they're pretty set up. They're gonna use this once a turn. So we gotta pop off hopefully here. Our we're open to diversion now because of this. We are gonna be able to IPO out, and Angola is like what, 1 for 1? Yeah. So the FG 2, 3 for 5. Yeah, it's the same money in theory. I don't know what pressure they can put off on R&D, but this is not good. Okay. They could falsify this. They probably do have 3 in their deck, which, you know, I don't know if they're on Amakua, if they're on Angolo. I think you always do. Rogue trading is so slow, and we don't really have much to show for it. Yeah, this is really expensive for them. It's like 4 credits. We only spent 3 on the res. I think we're gonna name event. They haven't played a lot of events. There you go. We could res the border control here. That would put us at less money than the Anansi. And then they also have to bring out, either use this or bring out the paperclip. Both of them are kind of expensive. So they can do this. And all of that just to get here. And if they trash it, they don't have enough money to dodge the Citadel Sanctuary trades, which we can't really capitalize on it. Oh, they did trash it. Now they really need a bravado or something. We might also want to ice up dirty laundry so they archive so they can't dirty laundry. We could spend a money here and trash their Citadel Sanctuary. I don't think it's worth it. I really don't think it is. Other Rashid is nice. All right. So they need to figure out how to make money. Another rogue trading would be kind of a big deal here, but we have more money than them, so the Citadel Sanctuary Trace would be an issue. Because we can trash the Citadel and the rogue trading if they keep the tag. Deuces wild for 2 and 3. It's a second wild. The first is deuces. And Rashida here is really good. Again, we just want to set up like a bio vault on La Costa. It's surprising how this server is not that taxing anymore. 2, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Second deuces. So I'm not going to see a lot of our ice. Oh, they do. Oh, they need a run now. Fortunately, this is a terrible res here. That's why I don't like Macrophage. I like it more in Ag Infusion where an unresed ice still has value. Oh, all good. Oh, they no worries. So still a lot of agendas in there. This list doesn't have snare. I would put snare in a Palana list if I was going to play Palana. I'd definitely put snare in. And there's a Miss Bones, which makes the remote check a lot easier. We need to score this, but we put our strong ice on HQ like cowards. They don't have a lot of money. I think we could just bluff something. Like we do these two together, it's really good. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Yeah, I think we have to push this out. Questions, do we expose this or not? We're kind of weak to diversion. How's the first sub gives you 4 credits? Yeah, it does. I install these in the wrong order. I want to install the agenda first a lot of times. We still have 9 credits, which is the threat. Falsified. Guess upgrade. The guess will cost it. That's why I always want to install the agenda first, because most people put the upgrade down first because it makes sense to them. And that's such a big swing that they got 4 credits here. Because now they can run it. Yeah, if we played them the other way, they would have been on a fair few less credits. It would have been on 2 credits as opposed to 7. So I think we're going to lose this one. They still have to run it like 3 times if we want to eat all their border controls. What's the cost for Angola to get through a Nancy? It's 2, 4, 5, 6, 7. That's a lot. Like, you see how good Miss Bones is. Like, it's not going to be hard for them to get the at least 4 credits of value they need to get off of this. Yeah, if we just installed those in the other order, such a big difference. It's just like visually, people wanted to have the upgrade underneath the assets. So I think people do that. I know I did. I'm gonna pour myself some water. And this is obviously huge. I don't think the purge matters as much as the macrophage matters. Fuck. Wait, now we can double border control them. La Costa. Okay. So they have 2 clicks left. They're running it. Do we res this? I think we do. How much money do we need? We need 3, 4, 5, 6. So we're 1 credit short. Fuck. This is harder, right? They played double event. I honestly don't know what to call. I think we still call event though. Because I think if they had a classic, they would have played it. I don't know what resource they wouldn't have played. Program, they don't have a lot. Boop, I'm too late. We'll boop after they break through everything. We're not Ag Infusion. We can't like Ag Infusion boop. Turning wheel diversion, okay. Okay, so if we end the run here, they have to go back, which if they want to keep the turning wheel is like 6 credits. So I think we're just not going to win the agenda, but we can definitely end the run. So you know they just have a turning wheel. Problem is that we are 1 credit short of scoring. Yeah, we're going to keep this border control. We'll lose La Costa though. That's the worst part. Palana, yeah. So we know it's a resource. In theory, we could jam an Opacata here. It's just not very good. Like, we can't spend 5 credits in 2 turns to get just 3 points. Imagine this thing purged when scored. We're two. Ah, fuck. I feel like, yeah, if we installed this in the other, we had a chance. We'll remember that. Do you want it to be outside the border? Sorry? They can trash this for free. They have La Costa. Or sorry, they have Miss Bones. That's what you want. That's good. I think we actually have to work on the bio vault. Do we pay for this? 2 falsifieds are down. This is, if we res this, it's weak to what's it called? To Paul up. Oh, which board is better? Oh, that's a good point. Yeah, I honestly don't know. The innermost, I didn't consider that. Whether the innermost or outermost is better. Oh, we're not Palana, so that doesn't matter. Outermost ice, if we're playing against Hippo, that matters, but criminal is hard. Inside job, I think we'd rather them inside job than border control. So I think the keeping border control on the outside is better. Oh, that's awkward. But at least we have one of these. That's a really awkward turn. Credit? I don't know. Wow, that was a garbage turn. I wish Jane had tracked how much Palana money we made, how much ID money we made. I want to see how valuable this is. They're just clicking for credits. Oh, Bravado. We had 7, so we can't Resonancy. That's such a bummer. They can't steal Obacata, though, so the problem is we're going to lose one of these. But if we had Obacata, like, we're 1 credit. If this was an NGO front, they know what it is, though. Like, the Nancy res would probably be okay. If we res Enigma... No, we want to IPO this turn. We won't. IPO sick. They got 1 billion credits. We could have also ended the run. Oh, there's their class act. So now the cards in hand. I don't feel it was urgent to advance a buy vault. I don't think it was, because if we had an agenda in hand, yeah, I think you're right. It would have been better. This is really clumsy, right? Because we can install advanced NGO, but I think we just want to IPO. And if we install the Engram Flush, we can't IPO. We just do credit IPO? That sounds so bad. This is where like I like fast track. I feel like I'd play fast track in a deck. It's so important just to fly when you can, because there's clear windows. CVS HQ IMO? Yeah, CVS HQ is okay. It looks like Chrysium. Rashida's pretty good here. When I jam Obo there, because I don't think we ever want to score Obo. Like, spending 2 turns of 5 credits to score 3 points is just not great. If they steal it, it can buy us a window after, but like, it's not fantastic. We got planner whole turn. I think we want to jam Rashida. I think we want to put this. I don't think we want to draw. He can, yeah, he can know what this is. This looks like a baddie. Maybe Rashida. No points on the board. Gotta get him somehow. This is a slow deck. No, it's a fast deck. The thing is, like, I don't think getting points on the board and putting us so far behind that we can't do anything for the next couple turns is worth getting points on the board. Okay, we Resonancy. We're gonna lose a lot of credits. We'll be down to 5 credits. They have to spend 7 on this though, so we can always do the Anansi and then Biovault them. Yeah, that's fine. And Geotime? Yeah. I guess so. And I gotta res this. Sivas HQ would have not made that play happen, which is cute. Excuse me. Disgusting. So we lost our Bioball. We want another Lacosta here really bad. We did not get one. Fuck. So we're keeping the Bioball. It's really nice. And the thing is, as soon as we advance anything, we're so far out of IPO range. Wait. Can you kill someone with 2 cards in hand by using Biovault or border control while they hit a Nazi? No. There's no window while they're encountering it. You have to do it on approach or before they start breaking stuff, but mid-breaking, they can finish all their breaks before you have a chance to go. Now there's a huge target on HQ, right? Because we just drew a lot of cards and we've scored nothing. Yeah, we really need Lacosta. Like, it's unfortunate our remote is so bad. And I don't want to show what this is. Right? Like, we needed a Nancy out there, but we put a Nancy on HQ, which is probably wrong. Wow, this feels very bad. They only have 3 cards in hand, too. I'll res the Enigma, whatever. Well, yeah, you do it before they broke, but I think they get a break window first, and I wasn't sure if there was a window after encounter before break for the corp. Well, no. When they're encountering, they can break. Like, during that encountering. So as soon as they have a window, they can do all their things. You can never interrupt them. You basically give someone priority, and they break all they want, and then it goes to you. Like, they get as many paid ability windows as they want in the window, and then they pass priority to the non-active player. Interestingly, there are some cards that like will be able to add subroutines that have some tricky timings. I'll call it event. Useless AYOCR meme? What's that? Deuces Amakua Earthrise. Okay. That's Mario flashbacks from always calling events. That's a Biovault. They trash that for free with Miss Bones. And the server's not good. An offer you can't refuse. Oh, yeah, sure. Yeah, right. Earthrise Hotel. Okay. We probably could jam out as Obokata. I just don't think it's a good thing to do. Another border control is sweet. I think we have to bluff that we have an Obokata. So they'll draw 2 at the top, so it's not that hard for them to get in here. We know the 1 card in hand is Amakua? Didn't they show us 2 cards? Oh, they played the Earthrise, yeah. Don't you want to use MK for the bluff? I don't know. MK is really strong. I feel like our remote needs MK more than we need the Cyberdeck sandbox. I feel like we need to score this to have a chance of winning. So I feel like better about this for the bluff. Neural Archive Neural. Do you want to can you add a sub then Biovault them? I think maybe. I know there's weird conditions of cards that can add subroutines getting really strange that fire off anytime they break all subroutines things. So I know they can break everything and you can add a subroutine. I know that came up with like that sort of grid that or upgrade that Wayland has that says when they break all subroutines, a bad thing happens. That's the bluff we needed. Sick. And we have a click. All right, purge. There we go. Sometimes you just install advance. I guess. Because I think we're jamming this next. Project Kusanagi? Yeah, Project Kusanagi is another way to add subs. Because they encounter break all subs, it goes to you have a paid window, you add a sub, then it goes back to them, they break a sub, I think? I don't know. Kusanagi is one way. I think there's other ones that add subroutines, but I think that's the only one during paid ability windows. Ooh, we're going to get a macrophage here. So can we afford to res all this? 5, yeah. Event, I guess. We know they have an Amakua, but I don't think they care to protect it. We also only have one more turning wheel. Calling resource wasn't the worst. Fuck. Amakua, daily cast, boomerang. Okay, so one of each. So this is huge if they want to break it. They actually have to pump twice. It's fire all. So let's hope here. The rest actually don't matter. I shouldn't have hit fire all. It's way too long. This is still not that good though. Like this is just 4 credits for them to break. Fucking macrophage. I think it's a huge difference with Link. Otherwise it's 5 credits, but none of this shit matters. Paying 3 for a card that's only good once I score another agenda, and that's still a traced runner can beat for 4 without a breaker, like, this isn't good. Your CVS is now like a Chrism and anti-doof tech? Oh, it's right though, we can always res this to get a credit. Is there a virus in here? No. Yeah, I don't know. It does make the CVS a lot better. On Access hedge fund or whatever. But they have fucking 19 credits. It's all advance here is so suspicious because we have no money. Like, I think we just have to click for credits. And IP block also is just terrible if they don't play Amakua, which they won't, and if they have Link. I think we click 3 here, which means that we can't be winning the game. We have to hope that they goof up and we get a good window with Obokata. That's so rough. Purge? Oh shit, yeah, right. Imagine I'm purged. Thank you. Yeah, you can purge without viruses. It's worth 4 credits. That's way better than clicking for credits. That's how we win. What's that new art in archives? That is the world's art for BioVault. All the world's arts I think are alive and well on Netrunner DB, or sorry, JNet. So you're gonna be seeing them this weekend. I like this art. Double casts, Earthrise. That's 3 more credits for us. Let's go. Afshar. That's nice. It's not Amina, but it's nice. I think they could do HQ pressure. I think they're pretty worried about this. Fortunately, we don't have enough money to threaten this border control as being an Anansi, which they haven't found a Bagalter yet. Once they found the Bagalter, oh boy. I don't know if we res this border control. I don't know whether we want to show them that this is a border control. I've been playing Adam, was surprised to see Logic Bomb. That one looks so good. Oh, I don't even know what the new Logic Bomb looks like. I think it was obscured on the art. Yeah, I don't want to res this. This is the best surprise we have. I mean, Amakua still exists, so Macrophage isn't exactly bad, but Sandbag exists too. Yeah, and they're not going to play Amakua. I really don't think they are gonna. The thing is, like, I don't think a lot of people are gonna be playing viruses. Like, I think the existence of Macrophage Sandbox means people will just be like, import bust or whatever. Trashing boomerangs would be good. I'm gonna try hardware. Because they might have 2 boomerangs. They have at least 1. They're breaking. We picked hardware and they're breaking. That's great. Alright, now we hope that they jack out. Fuck. So that they don't get their Paragon credit. We got more money than them. Rip Freedom, yeah, it's bad. They have 20 credits and 5 credit drip? What are you talking about? We got this. We wasted a click. And 7 of the credits. This shit's good. Yeah, we're in a really bad spot. We need Bio-Vault tricks and La Costa tricks, but we've used 2 vaults already. There's a window where we can jam like 2 Obus 2 turns in a row. Boomerang on Engram on the remote. Surprising. I think you'd boomerang the macrophage if anything, but I guess you just trace it or this Engram. So now we can overinstall on this and ditch one of theirs. Also, they are going to draw themselves like pretty close to the end of the line. That's why this thing is pretty good. So we will build more defensive server. Putting this on HQ screams desperation. Enigma, no good. We're just going to do nothing and wait for them to draw to death, I guess. Pay 3 is fine for macro. It's fine. It's just not good. I guess if we have more money, we can always boost the macro. Yeah, man. They made 7 credits that turn. Whistleblower. Tech. Let's go. So the Obacadas are useless. Whose deck are you playing? This is the La Costa deck that Rotom took second at Intercontinentals, if I'm not mistaken. What's the strategy for waiting and doing nothing? Wait for them to draw through their deck. But now that they played Whistleblower, I don't know if that's a strat. Wait a second. Oh, if we pay all our money. If we play literally all our money. Nazi needs to go on the remote, doesn't it? To meet real text? Yes, it does. Especially because then they can't angle it twice. If we get all their money, we'll have no money. But we can start trashing their shit. No, it's not affordable. Keeping our money up is always good against like rogue trading decks. No. I don't like this card. I guess. I don't have a strong game plan here. This is bad. Self-vamping never feels good. It's good if you can trash their pieces, right? Like, if the Whistleblower is how we lose, trashing it matters. My biggest regret is putting 2x Gift in my court. I can't find a reason why we'd ever play Gift. It's way too slow. Okay, now they have Begulter, so now we lose. But at least their Daily Casts are drying up. Just kidding. We lose here. Good thing is we have to get 4 free credits. And if they hit an Obacata, maybe we draw another Obacata. Then we win. I'm kidding, we don't. We get 5 through that. We'll res the Enigma. It's not their last click. If it was the last click, we wouldn't. Pay everything, then credit, trash, Whistleblower is probably winning line. I think it might have been. I think trashing the Whistleblower is really important. Okay, so this we need to get lucky here. We are going to get the CVS. Obacata. Shit. They didn't name anything. You may trash this resource. I wonder if it asked them. We did purge. All right. Yeah, we still lose. Oh, we got one, but I think they just Whistleblower it. We probably should have just pushed the Nisei, actually. I think we should push the Nisei here. Yeah, I'm pretty confident we should have pushed the Nisei there instead of this Oboe. Because again, scoring the Nisei means that we can protect the Oboe. But we'll never be able to score the Nisei from this point forward. If we can score this one. You can border control the Whistleblower run? Oh yeah, you're right. You can. That's awful. Whenever you make a successful run. Yeah, we can react to that. Oh, that's so bad. Wait, can't you? It's not successful. You can't react to that? God damn it. We don't have a chance here. We should 100% push the fucking Nisei. What happens if they fail the next time this run? The X copy the named agenda. Steal ignoring on costs. Okay, so that doesn't matter. Like we had the remote. We could have scored the Nisei. That's really bad. It froze. See how much they spend on this. It's 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. You just need a molly of the whistleblower. It's bullets for days. Last window's right before, so 4.3, right? All right, I border control the, and this is so important because we're trading border controls into not the Nisei token. I was so shocked when I realized the whistleblower loses against Vashron. Yeah, right, because Vashron doesn't care how it entered the score area. It doesn't. It's not a cost to steal. Vashron's really tricky. That being said, I think we jammed these in the totally wrong order. Especially because they have whistleblower, like this shit doesn't matter. They haven't drawn yet, so we didn't get a credit, but so far we only need 3 credits. If we score the Nisei token, we actually did have a chance of winning. I feel like that's a huge misplay. And the silver bullet for an effect loses against another card in the same set. Ooh, they're doing it. Oh, 7. Wow. What if they're going to stim hack us? They can probably give us 3 credits here. I don't think that they break all of them. Okay. And I don't think we have a preemptive, do we? Like, we're never getting those border controls back. Oh, we do. How long was the Yellow King been gone? Sorry? I don't know. That's cryptic. They don't use whistle, they can't steal, right? Yeah, they don't use whistle, they can't steal. Imagine we had a fucking Nisei token. Oh, because they're going to use whistleblower to steal. They can use it. Right? Like, they definitely call Obokata there, 100%. I think you don't have a window to ETR after they choose a whistle. Yeah, I don't think you do. One card in hand, chat. I don't know, resource? Who knows? This is huge. It's a 4 card swing if we don't call this right. It's a Rozeki. Okay. Whether the storm you got, I don't know about that. I really don't. I don't think we can afford to boost into this. Again, 4 credits. Guess when you IAA the NGO. I shouldn't fire all these subroutines. They don't matter. Oh, sick. No, it doesn't matter. See ya, nerd. Little turtle guy. This is interesting. I can't believe how good this is. I wish we had more things to IAA. But they do have an expose of some sort. Paragon? This could be it. They'd have to use their whistleblower now, but they could always just run back. Coward, it's when you IA and hope they draw. Oh, we could jam this. No, we don't have enough money. They trashed an NGO front from R&D? That's so sad. That's so sad. That was the perfect draw right there. So we're gonna see if they protect the Rizeki. I'm guessing not. So they have no cards in hand. They can't die to Snare here. They in theory could die to like a fetal AI. Get them. Let's go. Okay, so here we could make Trace 6. That would leave him with, I don't know. It actually might be okay to boost in here. Well, no. If we credit, we could do credit subability gift. So I'm only firing the certain subroutines I think are relevant. Last ability windows prior to run before declared success. Yeah, you can't border a whistleblower. New card. They'd have to whistleblower now if it's the last oboe. And again, Global Food Initiative also. Really good card. Oh, they had another rogue trading. I totally forgot. That's where they're getting this money. Also, it's worth knowing Mist Bones is only installed cards, so when they see this Biovault on R&D, they either chose not to or couldn't trash it. Oh, wow, that Biovault's so big that they didn't trash it. I think we purge, right? Okay. If we're gonna win, it has to be at the Biovault. Oh man, we could have had a Nisei token and a Biovault. It would have been so good. We definitely goofed it. They've also been not drawing every turn. Celeb for money. I don't want to celeb and show the Nisei Mark II because they have a pretty clear line of access and we haven't got legworked yet. So I don't. The thing is, like, we don't even need money outside of diversion. Like, our money is not that relevant. Fucking a Lacosta actually would be pretty good too. Okay, question is if we res it, they can falsify it. I think that's a third row trading. Yeah. So the money's pretty limited. They have one more falsified and it's in 6. Yeah, I'll res it. That means they probably just have to run it. Which is bad because then we don't have a window. Like we're not capitalizing on this. But at least this protects us. It doesn't have to res it to protect it. Gamble, they have 5 cards left. The problem is like we can't let them whiff the whistleblower. Like we need them to access like an NGO that we don't pop or something, you know? A preemptive for border control also would be like really good here. All 3 falsified out? Oh, really? Oh, touche. You're right. You're totally right. Yeah, we could have IA and they could have whiffed it. Yeah, I think that was totally right. Which, yeah, that's probably right. They can see 2 here with Turning Wheel, but also we can always react to Turning Wheel with Biovault if we need to. This is a 7 credit run. They probably could run last click and save a credit on Enigma. I don't know. Okay, we gotta get lucky here, obviously. It's pretty bad to call Whistleblower on Centrals. Paragon. Fuck. GG. Yo, I did not feel like we were in any control in that game. I think we had some huge misplays. Like throwing the Nisei was bad. We lost 2 Lacostas? Wait, how? Oh wow, we threw one out from hand, I think. Like Lacosta is so big in this deck. It really is. And the fact that like we pushed out Obokata and Topsa in terms of something else is obviously huge. But like they had tech. Like Whistleblower is pretty nice tech and Criminal because I think the other options are pretty bad. Oh, they hard paid. Yeah, that's surprisingly relevant when the deck only runs like so many agendas. Like only 3 different agendas. I think I was okay. I think I was alright. I honestly don't like the Cyberdeck Sandbox. I feel like I'd rather play Corporate Sales Team than the Sandbox and then not run Macrophage. And I feel like these like low Enigmas actually did fight back. Like, I feel like with Palana, we have to go so much faster. Like, we were not playing against 419. I think we actually might have fucked up on turn 1, right? Like, because we iced up R&D. Why? What are we scared about icing R&D? It's not Leela. They don't have Maker's Eye or Stargate. Usually, they don't have Stargate in 419. That we could have just jammed to the remote as fast as possible. Because, yeah, we don't have fast track. So I think we should have jammed to this remote as fast as possible. Like, icing up R&D was silly. We shouldn't have done that. We could have just done double ice remote and start jamming Lacosta from there. Whistleblower doesn't even beat Lakshmi, which feels pretty bad. Yeah, no, this is not a good card. I think it very narrowly answers, I think, only Obokata. I don't think it answers... Oh, it answers SDS. It doesn't answer Cityworks. Yeah, we also didn't jam, obviously, because it's Obo. But I feel like we were going too slow. I also think Fast Track is really good if we want to go faster, which we don't have that. And I feel like, even though it's not a fast card, I feel like I would like to play Snare. Just because Snare does give you nice windows when they run Centrals to jam Obo if you really need to. Or just pretend you have Obo, which is really relevant. Yeah, drawing the preemptive would be good. I also don't like Celebrity Gift. I don't know why we'd ever want to show their hand. Like, showing that we had 2 agendas in hand a couple turns ago would have lost us the game on the spot. I'm pretty sure, but they could have guessed they had 1 agenda in hand at least. Now, if we didn't res the Biovault, they might have gone for it. They might have poked HQ first. They might have just gone for it, which is like... They end up spending 5, 6, 7, 6 credits. Like, it's not good that we trade our whole turn and advances for 6 credits. Like, we need to set up something with the Biovault. It beats Cityworks. You steal it before they access damage. Actually, really? I thought it didn't for some reason. It works against Cityworks, doesn't it? You're no longer accessing text. Yeah, maybe I'm wrong about that. The next time you run, access a copy of the name agenda, steal it, ignoring all costs. You're no longer accessing it. The runner accesses the Cityworks project while it's installed. Yeah, okay, that should be fine. That should be fine. And that's a really easy interaction, right? Because Cityworks is installed face up. It's also worth knowing Whistleblower is an influence, right? Yeah, okay, so it's a runner's turn. Whistleblower fires first. That makes sense. So, offer can't refuse. Doesn't work with Cityworks project. But not that it would, anyways. It has to be on Essential. Sandstorm. We'll figure it out. Anyways, that's all for today. I need to go get some tea with some honey in it because it's a big day tomorrow. We are streaming again. Twitch.tv/Project Nisei. We're going to start streaming at around 1:32, I think. Jackdavis, what up? Those new Biovaults are sick. They're really nice art. And I think they're not that difficult to get. Oh, wait, you can't see my screen anymore. I don't think they're that difficult to get on the prize support track. Oh, Nice.net. That's shit. Nisei.net. If it was an influence, maybe it would be playable. Maybe the thing is, like, I think people are happy that silver bullets like that just shut down whole agenda suites aren't that easy to play. That's the problem with Film Critic, right? It was too easy to play. Biovault. 24 points. 8 wins. 8 wins. That means, like, if it's 7 rounds, 14, you have to win half your games. Oh, that's kind of hard, actually. Maybe you can do it. Thanks again. It was fun. Hey, Changeling, thanks for the game. Always nice to be part of the stream. Hey, cheers. Thanks for streaming. Looking forward to the weekend. Yo, it's going to be tight. I'm really excited. We got a lot of streaming tomorrow, a lot of commentary. Again, none of this is happening here. Go over to twitch.tv/Project Nisei. Hit that follow button. Hit that subscribe button. Hit that bell button so that you can get the notifications when they do go live. It starts, like, I'm not entirely sure. I think it's around 1:32. I think it's 2. That's what this says. But it says here it starts at 1:30. But I think that's when players meet. But the stream should be starting around 2 o'clock, and then we have like a lot of Netrunner, and then again the next day, and then the day after. So hopefully you can drop by. Good luck to everyone playing tomorrow or on Saturday. I hope you have a great time. And there's a lot of side events also on Sunday, but also there is the top stream. So see you there too. I don't know why they have new Biovault art in Jinteki, but not the art from Nationals. I want to play with Cool and Nancy. Yeah, they're just doing the world prize support. They're not doing like any other prize support. It's just world stuff. 11:30 PST game start. Excellent. That's all. Hopefully see you tomorrow. Got a big old stream tomorrow. Check it out there. Good luck at Worlds, huh? Ciao.